Hi, it's Norman Kochnick here for Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnick. I'm very, very, very happy today because, of course, we've got another day's play of cricket. I've heard on various reports that the weather is acceptable and will be playable. For how long, we'll wait and see. But I'm even more excited about having a very special guest to join me on my show, Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnick. And that is a very esteemed gentleman, a gentleman that really is well known in India. To anyone who's knowledgeable in cricket will know of Gautam and his great editorial, his great writing capabilities, his great authorship of many great books and articles that go beyond the level of both Bangla into English. It's a magnificent level of esteemed company that I am in today. Welcome, Gautam.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Norman, for all the lovely words. It's wonderful, connecting with you all over again. And whoever and all the cricket writers who have gone from here to the down under, they all talk about your warm hospitality. I mean, I personally remember you had taken me to Victor Trumper's cemetery and various other places to meet, budding cricketers. And it was actually quite an education. And I must thank you here publicly for furthering my cricketing education, especially in Australia.
Well, it's well deserved, and I couldn't think of anyone better to do it for. It's my honour to be able to welcome you to Australia as I have, and I've been welcomed many a time in India, and we've got such a great relationship, and this is proof of it. Here we are, millions of miles away, on a platform called StreamYard, and we're able to talk freely. Through such a time of the pandemic, we are able to do many things which people would never have dreamed about. They would never have dreamed about such a time, would they? It's something that would never have been expected. The reality is...
Norman, please excuse my manners. This cup of tea is a way of life in Kolkata.
I know full well. And I'm kind of jealous because the standard of tea is exemplary in Kolkata. Oh, my gosh, it was fantastic. It's just the purity that you get. You can't beat it. I think maybe Sri Lanka matches it, but other than that, not.
When Greg Chappell was here, I still remember, even after he was no longer the Indian coach, he had come down to address a seminar on Tiger Pataudi. He had gone to Darjeeling and also got some Darjeeling tea with him.
Fantastic. I mean, Greg Chappell talks highly of India. There's not anyone that doesn't. And move IPL to one side. It's not about IPL. It's about the history of cricket there that is well beyond anyone's belief. I mean, we always talk about Braden, we always talk about the history here, but if you go back through Indian cricket history, it goes well beyond the test status that they received. It's well beyond that, isn't it? It's a long, rich history that's full of interesting anecdotes, and you bring them out in great articles, great books. You work with Buria, you work on your own work. It's just amazing. And what was your recent authorship that you had with...
1971, the year of Renaissance. In fact, 1971 is the year where Indians started winning abroad, and they had won two very significant series in West Indies and then in England. So we call it, 50 years ago that had happened, but they still remember in Indian cricket very, very fondly, as if those series victories had liberated Indian cricket.
Amazing. I've actually been blessed to have a look at that, and I think it's wonderful. Look, I'm looking forward to you being a part of this half an hour. The show goes longer than that, but this half an hour is probably the most penultimate of ultimates. Now, the reality is that we've got a test match on our hands, haven't we? Well and truly. It's extremely exciting. Are you as excited as I am? I'm extremely excited about this match. This could be a watershed moment.
I'm extremely excited for the fact that, in India, mostly in the subcontinent, you get to see the dominance of white ball cricket. And, for someone who had started off journalism in the around the mid-80s, even though India had won the World Cup in '83, but it was still considered the most pristine form of cricket. And that eventually is getting recognized after 144 years that the championship final is being played, that the coach is talking about, your coach is talking about the daddy of all World Cups, the captain is talking about it highly. It of course, it does ring a bell, and it actually tells you that, look here, you have been on the right path all along. And maybe IPL, the Razmatas, the white ball dominance of India, all that may have attracted attention of the public, but here you are the real form of cricket which gets recognized by all and sundry.
I've been talking heavily, Galton, about the fact that this is the pinnacle. This is above a World Cup 50 over, a World Cup 20 over, above an IPL, above an Ashes series. This is the ultimate level of cricket. And this crescendo, even though there's been questions as to how we got there and what point system is what, that's irrelevant now. These two teams are in the final, all gloves off. Here we are, ready to play this match. An incredible price tag that I'm very impressed with the ICC. They put 1.5 million US, $800,000 for the runner-up. They've seen the need to educate the audience. It is about money, but it's about the prestige, and you can't get better than that. And the incredible similarity between Virat Kohli and Kane Williamson, this will go down in history. It reminds me of the 1975 50 over World Cup in a way, the way in which the West Indies dominated that, and the West Indies had a long period of domination. This coincides with India's period of domination, in my opinion. I mean, I can't think of anything better.
Absolutely, and every time Virat Kohli talks so fondly about Test cricket, you actually feel so good, because here is your prominent player, arguably the #1 cricketer in this world. The jury is still out whether he's the #1 Test batsman or not, but unquestionably he has been the most talked about cricketer of this era. So see, if the same Virat Kohli talks so fondly about Test cricket, advertises Test cricket, and says this is the highest form, then actually, this age-long belief gets endorsed even in the modern era, and it goes on, it is passed on to the next generation. So all the, white ball specialists of India, from a Hardik Pandya to whoever you name, they get to realize that they're still not there.
Absolutely. And what frustrates me is the financial benefit of an IPL or any other league around the world is far beyond what it deserves to be in its pecking order of Test cricket. And what I'm getting at there is they can become very rich very quickly. A Glenn Maxwell can go to India. A Pat Cummins can go to India and do very well. And good on them. But that's not the point. Some of them have to understand the importance of Test cricket, such as what Hardik Pandya needs to understand perhaps more. And a number of other players we can mention. We can rattle off a whole lot. The reality is, I hope this is a massive success. I hope we get a result. I am disappointed with the fact that there's a sharing of the purse or sharing of the mace, the fact that they could be two winners. I don't get that. I prefer not to be the case, but I don't think it's going to end up that way. I think we're going to get results. The way India batted yesterday was fantastic. Both Gill and Sharma started off fantastically against the moving, hooping ball. The way that Kohli and Rahane are now at the end of the day's play still not out. This could be the day of reckoning for Kohli, couldn't it? If he masters a century on this day, it'll go down in Indian cricketing history as a significant milestone. It's going to have enormous significance, not just to India.
Norman, you are someone who also pursued cricket. You do a bit of cricket coaching. You know the game. For me, the most fascinating part of yesterday's play was not Kohli the batsman. It was Kohli the thinker, who devised, along with the Indian coach, who devised a strategy for his batsman, which is to stay 2 feet outside the popping crease. Now, I have never ever seen any visiting opener stand outside the popping crease to negotiate the swinging ball. This was something which was devised by Kohli in Australia, if you remember, 2014 Adelaide Test match, where batsman Kohli got hundreds in both innings. As a captain, he lost the match narrowly, but this was the first time this strategy was employed by him. And I was sitting at the Adelaide press box, and I could not understand how he'd negotiate someone like Hazlewood, who was quite fast, or Mitchell Johnson later on, who took part in the series. But he did. Here in England, the same strategy was not only employed by Virat, it was also employed by Rohit Sharma. It was also employed by Shubman Gill, which I thought was sensational, because the whole idea is, if you are standing 2 feet ahead, you will always find it difficult to handle the shortish deliveries, especially with the faster ones. But you can negotiate the swing before it actually starts swinging. You are there, which I think is a very smart brainwave. What do you think about this?
Oh, I totally and utterly agree. It blew me away. The cleverness of the way they did it, the confidence they took hold of the match where, quite frankly, the New Zealand bowlers were well and truly capable of doing a lot of damage to the early batting. A 62-run opening partnership, to me, was worth 10 times more. It was such a significant opening partnership. It negated what could well have been a low score of the first innings. They're actually in a position now where they can look towards a score of 300 today. It was immense. And the style of shots that were played, the deliberation of leaving balls go from outside off too, was magnificent. A very fine line of decision making was made there. They were clearly, they knew by being further out of the crease, as you were saying, and they gave the swing, but they also were able to handle letting balls go. They knew when to let the ball go because they knew if it was in a certain spot, it would go further away. It was dramatically important. Admittedly, they both did nick off in the end, but it was after an incredible battle that India were on top. Now, as I think Sunil Gavaskar said in the lunch break, if India were told they were going to be 2 for 69 at lunch, they would have taken that. And exactly right. And they made it even better in the second stage of the match or the second session where they only lost the 1 wicket and moved in a position where, in fact, they were only 3 down at the end of a day's play. It was still 64, 65 overs. It was a significant amount of overs. Magnificent effort. I'm super impressed with India, and they should go for the position to win. I actually think New Zealand will struggle to score even half of what India will get. That's my belief.
I'm not sure, but what I'm saying is I thought this was sensational, considering the fact that none of these openers had ever opened in England. I mean,
Exactly.
Shubman Gill, he has no experience in English conditions. And what we watched yesterday, Southampton, was a perfect English cricketing match because it was drizzling, stopping, there were huge winds blowing all the time. So it was like a swing bowler's paradise. And to go there, play the World Championship final, negotiate those deliveries for such a long period of time, I thought was brilliant. Just that I also feel at the same time, I thought that the New Zealand seamers, out of excitement of bowling on that track, or because of the sense of the occasion, magnitude of the occasion, they perhaps choked. Because I honestly feel if they had played Glenn McGrath on that track, India would have been 54 for 5. But they got away because the bowlers were also not accurate. But what I felt was that Indians have not even played a single tour match, no practice match. How intelligently, how smartly they negotiated the swinging deliveries, and maybe this would be the way in which they would play the entire English series.
Oh, it is a true mark of excellence. And we mustn't forget that these moments define cricket. The way in which India have taken on this game, and we can go back to Australia at the Gabba with 9 players out. We thought they were done and dusted, but they came through that. They came through the test before with both Ashwin and Vihari batting towards the end of it to bring out a draw. The reality, India's learnt very well under the leadership of both Ravi Shastri and Virat Kohli how they need to win matches. Virat Kohli is constantly moulding his batting. He constantly moulds. He keeps developing. He never rests. He keeps learning, and he's sweeping all the rest of the players with him. It is sensational. I think this is a distinct moment. I'm hoping, like anything, that he scores 100 today and puts a huge stamp on this match. New Zealand will flounder. New Zealand will find it difficult. They've got capability, yes, but I think they've actually peaked a bit early. They actually peaked in the first and second tests. They really can't get that. I think they're going to be gobsmacked by the way India's come without practice, without real reason to be in front. They are. I think it's magnificent. Absolutely magnificent.
No, but I honestly expected the New Zealand pacers to bowl better, and they were wavered. In the first 2-3 overs, they were bowling well outside the leg stump, quite a few of them. And it remains to be seen what happens in the match. But yes, if India manages to put on 300 plus, and mind you, New Zealand, they don't have any spinners, as Shane Warne has pointed out in his tweet, there are already footmarks, and Shane Warne is someone who knows this turf like the back of his palm because he having played in Southampton for so many years for Hampshire. So if he says about Hampshire, you're bound to take notice and listen.
Well, he has a Shane Warne stand there after all. He basically owns the place. Now, let me introduce David Graveney, former ECB chairman of selectors, has come to join us. Thank you very much, David.
Okay, Norman. Have you picked up your message?
Just check your volume, just see how your volume goes.
How's that?
It's great to have both two extremely esteemed gentlemen in the same panel. David, who is none other than English royalty, effectively. And Galton, I would argue, is equally as royal in his country. I mean, I should be bowing to you both.
No need to do that, Norman.
Well, now, David, have you met Galton, David? Galton, have you met David?
No, I haven't, but it's wonderful interacting with him. David, I've heard a lot about you, and it's the first time I speak to you.
No. I've just been watching. It must be some anniversary, Gadsden, of the epic stand between Dravid and Laxman against Australia, which was played in.
Can you increase your volume a little bit, or am I?
Yeah, David, I'm having the same problem. Just get your volume up a bit, if you could. Sometimes David's reception, he's in a very interesting part of England where the actual level of connection is never perfect. But Galton, this is a perfect opportunity. You could pick David Graveney's brain specifically for the upcoming series, because he's very intimately aware of the England setup, of course, having just come out of that championship, and he has a great deal of knowledge. In fact, David took care of the likes of, he nurtured the Sam Currans of the world, the Tom Currans of the world. Even the recent, who was the new keeper? I've just lost his name. James Bracey. He's very aware of he was the one who was very much a part of that makeup. I think he's on. David, you're frozen. I think we need to get out and get back in. I think he's frozen.
I perfectly endorse your opinion, Norman, that he, in a way, he revolutionized the English cricket administration. And what you get to see today is not just, practicing at the nets. It's also how the entire strategy was evolved, how the right kind of coaches were put in place, how a proper cricketing program was put in place. And all this credit, I think, goes to this man. He deserves it more than anyone else.
And he's so well respected by the players. Most chairmen of selectors generally have their moments, but he is respected by literally A to Z of the players that went through the system. And what I found intriguing, we could talk briefly about the England-New Zealand series and the lack of a spinner from England, which actually hurt them. And David Graven was quite clear on that. The fact that New Zealand had not got a spinner in this match, I would argue it doesn't hurt them, but I think that's New Zealand bowling to their strength, which is not their spin. There's an intriguing topic, certainly. David's going to try again.
There you go, guys.
That's much better.
I'm with you.
Well, Galton and I were singing praise about you, about the revolutionary effect you had on English cricket. Galton knows you very, very well. Galton, of course, is an esteemed author and journalist in India from Kolkata, renowned for his Indian his capability in both Bengali and obviously English. And David, I think, perfect set of guests, the both of you.
Well, what I was talking about, Gadsden, before I got switched off, was which I regard as one of the greatest innings ever played in the history of the game, was VVS Laxman's innings of 281 against Australia. Was just an extraordinary. Well, to try and play I don't know what sort of risks you know. So.
You're cutting in and out, but we're getting you, David.
Right.
Keep talking.
It must be the way. It must be the wet weather, Norman.
Yeah, but the innings he talks about is still sensational. I remember covering that match, and he was hitting Shane Warne from outside the off stump through the area between midweek and mid-on, and he kept on hitting him there. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable, as if you're actually watching a movie and not watching a live match.
Yeah. But it's also the way Gadsden at VVS has conducted himself as a cricketer for his career just made it even more special, really, because they're two of him and Rahul are two of the better people you can ever wish to meet.
Absolutely, and he has a very analytical mind. If you read his book, he has no need to be interested in reading it. How the slip should be differently positioned in England or in Australia, he has analyzed that. In Australia, the distance between a first slip and a second slip. In England, the distance between first slip and second slip. Plus, he's the man when that that huge monkey gate thing broke out. He's the one who actually led the movement of the players. So you have this perception of VVS Lakshman being very reticent, quiet. It is not exactly that. He's a lovely gentleman, but he's also a fighter and he's also a thinker.
No, he is. He played for Lancashire for a little bit, Gautam, in the UK as an overseas player, and he's idolised by the whole of Lancashire, which is a difficult place to be idolised in, I would have to say.
No, I mean, we have the history. Farooq Engineer was also extremely popular there. So was Wasim Akram playing for Lancashire.
But they played, just VVS's impact for not playing that long, Gautam, and winning over quite a cynical membership. It's a bit like playing for Yorkshire. When Sachin played for Yorkshire as the first overseas player, I think he was fortunate that he was so young that people sort of wanted to give him an opportunity. But Yorkshire haven't got a great reputation of accepting non-Yorkshire people, and Lancashire are a bit the same.
Amazing. Now both of you on today's performance. I mean, clearly India have done exceptionally well under the conditions yesterday to negate the New Zealand bowlers. I thought Jamieson was pretty impressive. He bowled quite well, and even the likes of de Grunholm certainly had a good ding-dong battle with Kohli. But Southee, he came back from lunch fairly late, and I'm not aware if he was injured or was he not, or was he under the weather? What was going on there? Have you heard anything about that, Gulsman, David? Why Southee?
No, I think that what footage I've seen, Norman, is the ball for Southee to be really effective, as he was against England at Lord's. There's got to be a certain amount of swing. Now, sometimes moisture in the outfield can negate the swing of the ball because it just gets into the leather, so to speak. So that might be the case. But yeah, I just think I think they are very well. They're led by one of the calmest captains in the world, and that's actually reflective in their cricket. They're just very calm, and just if they don't get a breakthrough, they don't throw the toys out the bathwater. They just stick to their game plan until something happens, which did. So.
Norman, as I told you earlier, I think that somehow the first session, possibly the bowlers were too eager, and they knew that it was like a fairy tale kind of a setting for them. Williamson having won the toss, that kind of wicket, the weather, everything put together. Possibly Southee, the leader of the attack, could not handle that pressure mentally. And for all you know, today he could be a changed man. And I do not entirely agree with you, Norman, because 146 for 4, it looks good, yes. But if two good deliveries, you get rid of a Kohli or a Rahane, things might change dramatically. So India has to still be very battle-hardy to get past 300. Only then they can breathe easy.
Gautam, there's a massive difference. And this is based on being a captain for a number of years in English cricket, is that the wicket will be the same and the weather will be the same and the personnel will be the same. But there's a massive difference between if you win the toss and bowl first as opposed to losing the toss and end up fielding first. The expectation of the other players on the bowlers is far greater. And as you're quite right, sometimes people can't handle that pressure because in the end, nobody actually really knows what the wicket's going to do. So, and I know that with some feeling, being a spinner and having to bowl on the fourth day when you're the only spinner in the team and all the expectation is on you.
Now, I'm just getting a quick weather update. Munshi, who you know, David, you've met him before, he's been on our show, has been saying that there's a 20% chance of rain early on, but drops to 10% for the rest of the day, which is magnificent. that implies very, very little stoppage in the match.
Well, I've got to go and watch some age group cricket in a minute, Norman. But
okay.
yesterday afternoon, there was no chance of the game taking place, and now there is. So the weather, which is brilliant. There's a lot of effort gone into staging this game of the two best sides in the world, and it'll be great. The only thing in England is the weather. I'm not saying it doesn't rain anywhere else, but if you played it last week, I was in Southampton. You couldn't see a cloud anywhere. So it's just bad timing. But it's good that they've got a full day today, and we'll see what happens.
David, do you foresee a situation, because so much depends on one match, and if weather intervenes, unlike other sport, then you can't play the match. So do you foresee a situation where you will have covered stadiums like the one you already have in Australia and play cricket there?
I don't think you have that. I think that if you're going to bring two sides together from the other side of the world, I think there is a test match, Gautam, if you look in the cricket records, between England and South Africa, which was an unlimited test match.
Yes,
and it only ended when the English team had to catch a boat to come home. But they did play for a number of days. So I think I don't know how it would resolve. I don't know whether you go back to that. If you go back to the Australian rules, which I think are always really good, first innings lead. That if that's the way to find a result. But it's let's hope it goes. Yeah, we've just had a women's test match for the first. Well, India have played in the first one for 7 years, and there's no doubt if they played it over 5 days rather than 4, they would have got a result in the game. So I don't think you can have an unlimited one. And the covered stadium sounds exciting, Gautam, but the cost would be extraordinary in this country. But it does happen. If you said that 20 years about playing tennis and the covered stadium, people would say you're joking. But you look at the frequency with which it's been done now. So there'll be somebody with a lot of money, Gautam, will come up with that idea. So.
I mean, it's revolutionary to think that way. But we all can't conceive that because we haven't physically seen that in our lifetimes. But it's something that can certainly be explored in the future, and it would negate a lot of these issues. But it would take away the romance of Test cricket, wouldn't it? To not have these tensions of weather conditions to bring into play.
Yeah, that is an element, and it's like Gautam, we've played domestic cricket in this country by taking the toss away. And I know the toss is a complete act of luck, but we played in terms of trying to prevent. The aim was to stop the home side preparing wickets that suited them. So actually, what happened at the beginning of the innings was the opposition could decide what they wanted to do. So that actually backfires because the home side basically made it so bowler friendly. It didn't make any difference whether they won the toss or not. So, so there are things that are, like winning the toss in this game. It might be that the New Zealanders is expected to do a lot more, but actually, a lot of people, if you look at the history of Southampton, a lot of people have inserted, and it hasn't worked out that way. Actually, because it's been quite slow as a wicket. And I think that's the thing that might hinder Southey, that actually isn't that much pace in the wicket. And with the greatest respect, he's not the quickest bowler. So he needs a bit of pace to, get the ball moving forward, if you see what I mean. That if he did anything, the batsman has enough time to play it, basically.
So, Gautam, your thoughts on today? We've talked a bit about what transpired yesterday and the way that the batters went out of their crease, which was phenomenally, risk-taking as a way, but extremely confident on the other. Magnificent effort. What do you see today? What's your take on today?
The first session will be very crucial. First session will set the tone for this entire test match, I believe, because if they can negotiate Southey and Bolt in the first session, then you are in for a respectable total, I guess. First session, Kohli staying there it will be extremely crucial, unless Rishabh Pant comes and plays one of those typical Rishabh Pant knocks, but it's unlikely considering the situation, considering the atmosphere. And I think that today the nerves will be in control much better than what it was yesterday. Yesterday, Norman, one decision of the umpires to consult the match referee, even after the timing for the New Zealand appeal had gone away, after that they consulted, which only showed, I mean, the umpires officiating in this match are two of the best, finest umpires in this world. The very fact that they were also a bundle of nerves, it shows the enormity of the final, what it is, kind of stature it has assumed. So today, I think that having spent one day in the field, both teams would be better handling pressure. And that could be the key.
Absolutely. It's such a great crescendo to an event. Why? Because we've got two teams that truly deserve to be there, that have been captained well, that are at their peak somewhat of their careers. It's a watershed moment for both these sides. It may well have been the same for Joe Root and his men, and to a lesser extent, I would say Steve Smith and his men. And I'm using Steve Smith very carefully. I know Tim Payne is their leader at the moment, but I think this, to me, will go down in history. It's already percolating in that manner. The nervousness, the tension is fever pitch. David, are you as excited as I am?
Yeah, because I think it's been a long time coming, this particular fixture, to try and identify without question who is the best team in the world playing red ball cricket. So this is new territory. So when Pant comes to the wicket, Gautam, do you expect him to play a normal innings and block, or is he going to go on the attack?
Pant, he only knows there's basically one dimension.
I'm only being facetious, Gautam. So.
Yes, and he is great entertainment. And I think even if he wishes to play, very, very cautiously, he can only do it till 5-6 overs. After that, the original Pant comes out, and which is good for cricket, good for entertainment, good for spectators.
What I'm looking forward to is actually, which I think is the final confirmation of India's ability to play worldwide, is for their seamers to bowl on this wicket, because I think that will prove to the rest of the world, it doesn't matter where they're playing, they are a potent all-round bowling attack. They've got two very experienced spinners now who have been very effective. And just look at the team, and it's really got a really nice balance. Right, but Jadeja, I can remember speaking to Duncan Fletcher when he took over in India, and he regarded Jadeja as the key to the whole team in terms of how he balanced it. He was the best fielder in the team. So it's good to see him back, basically.
Yes, I mean, and he has, two triple hundreds, two triple domestic hundreds. I mean, people relate to him as a bowler, people relate to him as a fielder, but in Indian domestic cricket, the man has scored 2 triple hundreds, playing for his state.
No, he's. I just think, just to see the seam bowlers and how they. And the length that they will bowl. This is a little bit sort of, I think, what challenged English bowlers when they go to Perth, that they get carried away with the bounce of the wicket in Perth and bowl far too short, whereas actually the length is a much fuller length. And I think this one, Southampton, is a wicket where you just got to be really, really patient. You've just got to bowl back of a length for as long as you possibly can.
Now, on the way that India are now golfing for the first time in a team makeup that has the 5 bowlers that they have, all 5 of these great bowlers are in the one team. That's extra special, isn't it?
Well, I think Norman, what sides have now worked out is actually you've got to have 5 bowlers, because unless you have a world-class spinner like Shane Warne, and even he felt the heat of having to hold up an end all the time. If you go back to the series in 2005, one of the things that was in our favour was the fact he was exhausted by the end of the series, because he had to bowl at times when actually he shouldn't have been bowling, because the seam bowlers should have been bowling. So to have 5 bowlers, all right, you may suggest it weakens their batting, but it's a balanced attack. And And if you look at all the sides, they've all now shifted to having 5 bowlers. You obviously need an all-rounder, either a wicketkeeper or a spin bowler or a Ben Stokes to balance the team.
Absolutely.
And that's what England struggled with in the game against New Zealand, because it's not all down to one man. It just balances the team. Where Ashwin, well, the combination of Pant, Ashwin, and Jadeja balance India's batting lineup.
Absolutely.
And bowling. For the first time, because they've always gone in with 4 bowlers. Sometimes they've gone in with 2 seamers and 2 spinners. Well, that puts a lot of emphasis on winning the toss and batting first.
Absolutely.
So they've got a team that can cater either way, fielding or batting first. So.
Absolutely.
Yes, I mean, Ashwin is someone who has 3 international hundreds. He's a decent batsman. Again, Ashwin started off his career as an opener. He used to open, and later on he became a bowler. So, you know, the combination is quite good. And India, like, as you said, David, very rightly, that Australia could do it because of a Shane Warne. And India, I remember Saurabh Ganguly's India copied that Australian model of playing with 4 bowlers overseas, but it used to put tremendous pressure on 1 or 2 individuals who were your star performers. And it is good that now you're playing with 5 bowlers, but again, given the fact that the 5th bowler can bat decently.
But I think that it would be the only weakness I would say about New Zealand, that they are actually a seam-based team, which suits their wickets at home, and Southampton, playing in England, suits them, as they have shown. So for India to win in those circumstances would really be a confirmation that they are a good, outstanding all-round team with bat, ball, fielding, captaincy. And I think Kane Williamson has done an extraordinary job with the resources that he has. But it is slightly unbalanced because he just doesn't have a spinner. So, if you played last weekend, Gautam, you would have needed a spinner. They have within the group, but they are no match to Jadeja and Ashwin.
David, I have a question, which is being asked by cricket lovers across India, and there could be solid technical reasons, but they're just curious to know how come such a high-profile final is being played in Southampton and not in Lord's or in Oval.
I think one of the reasons is the first of all, Lords have undertaken a lot of building at the far end of the ground, and it was touch and go that would have been completed. The position of the GS Bowl, Gautam, lends itself very much to a COVID bubble because there is a hotel which overlooks the ground. So logistically, it's a much easier thing to have organised. And as it transpires that the increases in terms of positive cases are increasing in England day by day. So in that respect, it was actually quite a good venue for them to play. But I can understand, people from around the world thinking that, well, it's a bit like saying, let's play this game in Australia. We'll play it at Brisbane as opposed to Sydney or Melbourne. It would still look rather odd. But it's just logistically, in the current medical situation, or the world we live in, Gautam, it's an easier ground for it to work at Southampton.
No, but why not in Old Trafford? I mean, in Old Trafford also you have a hotel inside the complex. So, and Manchester has a huge tradition of Test match cricket, which this new ground does not.
Yeah. Well, there are lots of things happening in the UK, Gautam, which take some explaining, and that's one of them. So. But it's a lovely ground, So you're right; it's a new ground, but it's very, very much on the Test match schedule for. And I'm not sure, Gautam, whether they went through a bidding process. In other words, that the venues bid to have the right to stage the game, but. I'm not quite as close as I used to be in the corridors of power of the ECB. But the wicket will be good. I just pray and hope that the weather holds out for
Yes.
the duration. That
Yes.
we find a natural winner, which will be actually the confirmation that the process to arrive at a game like this is the right process for the game. Because every other format, you can find a winner, where it's 50 overs, where it's T20, and the red ball cricket needs that. We need to find out who is the best side on a given period of time playing red ball cricket. So we now have the best two teams playing it, which is great. Now, who's going to be the winner?
Absolutely. Gautam, you take the floor. You ask David questions, because I know there's a lot you two could interact on. Hence why you're together today.
Yes, like I just asked him about the venue of this final. I mean, and he explained it very well. And it's always busy. It's always good if you interact with the right kind of people in the cricketing administration, and someone who has, deep-rooted cricketing knowledge, just not there in the administration, also understands the game. So that way, connecting him with him was hugely beneficial, and surely the viewers across India, people who are watching this, they would be benefited as well.
Absolutely. David, I wanted to quickly ask you a question about, because David's take on the lack of a spinner in the England team was notable. Do you think, David, that New Zealand have done the right thing not having a spinner in their makeup?
It was very, very easy to go back to their normal side of four seamers, given the overhead conditions and the weather forecast. So, and I would have to say, actually, Norman, the degree with which people can look at the weather forecast is a little better than it used to be. So I don't think, sadly, there's going to be blazing sunshine for the duration of this game, but you never know. So, because it does change. And well, as a former spinner, Norman, I just think it's you've got all your eggs in one basket. Because nobody really knows the degree with which how much a ball will seam or swing over 5 days. So therefore, to have a spinner at your disposal is the right way to go. Now the problem is the spinner of the right quality? That actually is he better than some of the seamers? I would say in the England team, what England suffered from, because they didn't have Ben Stokes. Ben Stokes is like a Jadeja; he balances the team, which allows you then to have a spin bowler.
And also, we look at the way that putting the best bowlers on the park, whether they're spinners, medium pacers, or fast bowlers, is another aspect of this. And clearly, two of the best, if not the best, bowlers in the Indian team are, in fact, Ashwin and Jadeja. They would be more valuable than a Bumrah, Ishan Sharma, or a Shami in the scheme of things. In New Zealand's situation, their lead bowlers are clearly Bolt and the likes of, even to lesser extent, Jamieson and Southey. Certainly not their spinners. Would not be in that same league.
What interesting enough watching New Zealand play over the last 2 or 3 years, Norman, is the role of Neil Wagner. He shouldn't be dismissed, actually, because he while the other seamers are having a bit of a rest, he continues this sort of rather aggressive mode of bowling and basically bowling bounces for about 2 hours, which means it's quite difficult to score against. Left arm seamer is actually quite a good option to have. They can go around the wicket, over the wicket. So, yeah, I just would like to have a spin bowler playing. I think it's also good for the spectators. If you have a diet of seam, and even more seam, that is the thing that is crippling our domestic cricket. That our county teams would prefer to have a bloke bowling as the fifth seamer rather than a young spinner learning his craft. When I say learning his craft, he's bowling 30 overs a day, so that actually when it does spin, he knows how to cope with the pressure. If you look at Jack Leach has not bowled a ball for weeks. So it's very hard to bring him into any cricket and say, come on, Jack, you bowl these people out because it's spinning. So it's actually quite a sensitive area to me of young spinners have got to learn their craft, that when they're put under pressure, that their actions are grooved and they're confident. If they haven't bowled a ball and suddenly, it's like sort of Dom Bess being criticised for how he bowled in India. if you had to bowl at the Indian batting lineup every day of the week, you'd have to be a pretty special bowler to be able to cope with that pressure.
Absolutely.
I'd be, Norman, very interested in watching Ashwin in this match because last time, 3 years ago, in the series against England, Moeen Ali had won this test match for England, which Ashwin was expected to. And this man got single-handedly castigated because of his failure to win India a test match, which was seemingly a track which was assisting spin bowling. And since then, he has changed his bowling a bit. His resolve is better. And he actually is a better bowler now. I mean, of course, 3 years ago also, he was a world-class off-spinner. So I'd really like to see Ashwin bowling on this track, how he outthings the New Zealand batsman, what he does when the plan B goes wrong, what kind of plan A goes wrong, what kind of plan B or plan C he comes up with. So it would be also fascinating to watch because we are only talking about pace bowlers and simmers, but who knows, spinners might hold a surprise for you on this track.
I think, Gautam, with watching Ashwin, and Ashwin is a fantastic bowler. You just have to look at his record. I sometimes think he is guilty of guilty is the wrong word, of having the luxury of too many deliveries, of whether they bowl carom balls or whatever. And sometimes there is wickets where you just have to bowl the opposition. And I sometimes see that Ravi is maybe a product of playing T20 and having to bowl different varieties of balls. Interesting you should mention Moeen Ali as a spinner who prospered in that test match against India. If you looked at Moeen's figures, when he is selected as just the sort of one spinner not expected to bowl, he often gets quite a lot of wickets. When he's selected as a spinner on a wicket that is expected to spin, he sometimes often doesn't cope with the pressure, and he needs to have. When England won in Sri Lanka a couple of series ago, they had to actually go out and play 3 spinners to cope with somebody actually falling apart during the game. And this is not bowling at Jayasuriya and all of their fine batsmen that they've had in the past. So, it'd be interesting to see how Ravi bowls. But I do think that I think he has taken the criticism to heart because he did get a lot of criticism. And I think he got some criticism in Australia. But if you look at the way that Axar Patel bowled against England, that was just bowling straight. That actually I don't have to spin the ball that much. All I have to do is get them to miss it, which he did with comfortable ease. So I'm talking in reference to my own career, Gautam. It's very average, but I can assure you, whenever if I looked at my the mode of dismissals of the 1,200 wickets I took in my career, it's normally batting error rather than some special delivery that gets people out.
But that's
being too modest. That's being too modest, Norman.
I think so.
He's being too modest.
You don't get 1,200 wickets by luck or by bad batting. You get it from a certain level of expertise and skill. Gautam, have you got any last questions? Because I know you want to be able to
I have to prepare. Yeah. Yes.
Sorry,
so with due apologies, I have to make myself unavailable because I need to get prepared, and in the setting which is unusual that you sit here and prepare for the match and do your match report from here. I've never done it all my life, but COVID has changed a lot. So
you're in the hotel then, Gautam, are you?
No. I'm in my flat in Kolkata.
Oh, right.
Shall be watching television and reporting from here.
You're not in Southampton.
No, I'm not. Sorry.
Gautam, before you go, I'd like to introduce Aparna Saini, who is a native Indian in Australia, has been a reporter with me, as you would have seen throughout the series, has done a fantastic job, been on Sports Tack, has been on a whole range of channels. And you've met David before, of course, Aparna, haven't you?
Yes, I have. Hi, Gautam. Hi, David.
Hi.
Thank you, Norman.
Hi.
Our pleasure.
And so with due apologies, and it was wonderful interacting with you, David and Norman, and all the best for the match.
Hope we have the opportunity again.
Yes, sincerely, I look forward to.
No problems.
Norman, the backstage, you can take it off.
Oh, is that yours? Is it? How am I supposed to?
Yeah.
So I remove from the stream? Shall I remove from the stream?
Yeah.
Remove.
Remove it.
Okay. Let me just. Okay.
Just
let me
remove from the stream. Leave it backstage.
Okay. I'll put it, so I can remove from the screen and put it at the backstage. Okay. Okay. Is that right? No, it didn't happen. Sorry, guys. I'm not very good with this. Remove from
I'll
the
just
stream.
come in.
Okay. Is that good? Is that okay? All right, David. That was wonderful for you to be on with Galsam. I really appreciate that because Galsam was very excited that you were on the show, and I made sure that you two would be together. And he's, you know of him, don't you?
Yeah.
And he has a great deal of respect for the way. When you were temporarily off, he actually spoke glowingly about you. Talked about the impact.
Sure that wasn't my uncle he was referring to.
No, he was referring it to you. He was talking about administration and your role as a selector. Now your uncle was not a selector, was he? As far as I'm aware, so it wasn't him.
No, he was too busy getting 138 hundreds in his career.
Oh, only 138. My God,
Yeah.
How average is that? And hang on a minute.
You need to have gone to the Brabourne Stadium in Mumbai, Norman. All right, the old ground. That he's actually scored more runs as a non-Indian on that ground than any other batsman in the world.
You're kidding me. That's amazing. What a stat. What an amazing stat. Now, what I'm going to do, guys, just involve some of the people that have been waiting very calmly. Rahane, how are you? We've talked to you. And Munchie, I know you've been there all the way along. Munchie's been giving weather. Going back. Now, hang on. So, I think Stevens. Let me just get. There's a fellow that's meant to be on. You are not there.
Yeah, what's the update on the weather, Norman?
Well, that's very good. 20% for the first part of the day. Yeah. Going down to 10% rain.
So where are you, David?
I'm based in Bristol, which is as a crow flies to Southampton, would be about 80 miles west of Southampton. I was actually in Southampton.
That's where women.
Sorry.
Women team is playing. I think I've heard.
Yeah. They just finished the test match. Yeah. And I live about 5 minutes away from the ground, partner. Yeah. So
I think they should move from Southampton to there because the weather report has been more clear there as compared to when they're playing the World Test.
Well, unfortunately, sometimes the weather forecast in this country, they get a lot of thunderstorms coming from France, so it's really affected the southeast of the country, which is unusual. So it rained in a line between Southampton to London and up the east side of England, whereas the west actually has been okay, which is very unusual. Normally the weather comes from the west, and Bristol, Manchester, those sort of areas apart normally get masses of rain. But they'll play today. They'll play today, and they'll play for the next couple of days.
So, David, we've been having.
Well, I know you guys invented the game, but surely England should be banned from hosting the Test matches. That's been the talk going in my country. Then I guess we'll have to give the Test. It could be a draw. You never know. I mean, the weather, if it's unpredictable, I don't know why they picked to have the final in England. I mean, what's your call, Norman? What do you think?
Well, I think a partner's just being rather cheeky. She was hoping Chris would be here, David, so she could G Chris up. That's what she was planning on doing. So she wasn't meant to take it out on you. She was more.
No. I'm asking you the question. I'm not taking it on you.
No, I'm actually applauding the ICC. I think they've done a fantastic job. First of all, to have this format of cricket, as in a World Cup or World Test Championship for the red ball cricket, I think is fantastic. Secondly, to put prize money on the way they have is even more fantastic. And the location should be England. It's the home of cricket. Where else would you start? You'd have to start
they invented the game.
We've been joined also by Steve Maven, which I'll explain, David. And a partner, have you met? I don't think you met Steve Maven yet, have you?
No.
Steve Maven.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Steve.
Steve Maven is not only a cricket aficionado, he's also a rugby league man here in Australia. And we talked about the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Well, Steve Maven played a handful of games just 100. And he was known for the famous dive. Now, David has a connection to Bath, of course, but in rugby terms, and there was the connection to
Bristol, Norman, not Bath.
Sorry?
Bristol, not Bath.
Oh, sorry, not Bath. My apologies.
That's a swear word. So I'm indeed actually, Steve, I don't know whether you followed the results from yesterday, but the Premiership in the UK had their semi-finals. This is rugby union, not rugby league. Bristol managed to lose their semi-final against Harlequins, having been 28-0 up.
Oh my God!
Wow! Gee, that's amazing. Well, that's a little bit like a game we just watched here. The Gold Coast Titans were up 24-8 at half time, and the Manly Sea Eagles come out and scored 40 points in the second half unanswered. So, game of two halves, but that's football, I suppose.
That's happening in rugby, actually, doesn't it? That sort of the shift of momentum can just happen instantly. So,
now I've got to make a shout out to a few people. The infamous or the very famous James Dean, who's online, has put us had a sticker. He's back. I'm glad to see James Dean back. We've got Munchie telling us the weather. Munchie gave us a forecast of. Here's our forecast. Forms of light cloud, low chance of rain with maximum temperature of 19 degrees. Monday's not looking too good. Tuesday, perhaps light showers in the morning, and Wednesday, significantly better. So that says to me 3 to 4 days worth of cricket at the very least, which I think is impressive.
It is for England. Yeah. So, partner, it actually does stop raining in England at some stage. So don't worry.
Well,
I think Kane and Virat Kohli would be like, all right, let's play the game later. Just two of us.
But I mean, there's been some controversy.
You can never pick a right time in the UK. Global warming is changing the period of time when it rains in the UK. Now, August is the holiday month for everyone. Schools, business, and whatever. Is now the second wettest month after November over the last 3 or 4 years. Which, if you're a young family, and now that they can't go to exotic places, they've got to find somewhere in the UK is going to be entertaining young children when it's raining in this country is a bit of a challenge, to say the least.
Yeah. Well, glad Australia didn't host it because it's been raining here as well.
It has.
It wouldn't have been any good.
It's raining now. Because I was going to say that it's been controversy over the location, and people are saying with this dreary conditions, and it's been a bit of a disaster. Really, this is the first time I've spoken about it. And the first day was washed out, then the second day it was quite gloomy, but it was an interesting day anyway. Yesterday, that Kohli survived and with some superb batting, and the openers got away to a start. But that ball was swinging, wasn't it? You could see it was a treacherous day out there, and it makes for a really interesting day today to see how that's going to pan out.
Absolutely. Well, it requires patience, Steve, on both sides. You've got to be patient as a bowler because it's not a very quick wicket, and you've got to be really patient as a batsman to decide. You don't go chasing after wide deliveries. You've got to get the bowler to bowl to you. And actually, some of the batsmen are moving down the wicket because it's not that fast to just change the length of the bowler's bowl. So
I saw that, and a couple of them got struck in the head, which was quite confronting to see that. But that was as a result of trying to do that. And yeah, like you said, it's a game of patience. And even though this big game's only seen 3 wickets and 140 odd runs, it is a real tactical game now to see which side can cope the best with these conditions.
Well, there's lots of nuances in the game, Steve. They aren't just about hitting 4s and 6s. So everybody's had a real major diet of one-day cricket, white ball cricket. So this is a, dare I say, it's a purist contest where you've got to see the finer skills come to the fore, which is great if this is the final. But I do understand the query of the weather and the location. So it's
how can you? Go ahead. It's a world test championship, and how can you decide in 5 days of play, and that's with this weather? So that's just it's been really disappointing for the fans out there. That's all. I mean, there's no one to blame. It's just unfortunate, definitely. But India have batted very well. Only 3 wickets so far. We would have still gotten enough. We still haven't got enough to say that they are in a better advantageous position at the moment, but anything could still happen, especially, with the depth of New Zealand attack, allowing them to keep coming back with, no loss in quality. And I would like to ask David you a question. What do you think about this? The seamers has been going out and in, and they get rest. There has been a lot of controversy on that as well, that should not be allowed. I mean, it's not fair that the seamers just go and have a rest and then come back.
So what, are you talking about rotating the seam bowlers?
Yeah.
We're talking about actually going off the field, aren't you? Completely resting.
Yeah, they are. They are going off the field.
Well, I would have to say I come from a rather old school. All right, so you have to bear with me about this. I played, and we didn't even have drinks breaks. So, you played a session of 2 hours and you got on playing, and then when you came in for lunch or tea, you had something to drink. So the people coming on and off, I think is, if I choose my words very carefully, is open to abuse. Let's put it like that. So.
They bowled well, the New Zealand bowlers. They bowled well. I mean, Jamieson, what was it? 14 overs, 1 for 14. Very economical. And I don't know if you discussed this earlier, but the Tim Southee over, that was one over in particular where it was an amazing over. It was 5 perfect balls, outswinger, in-swinger, outswinger, in-swinger, and then he got hit for 4, unfortunately, on the last one. But, yeah, it's suiting their bowling attack. And like we said before, it's a real challenge for Kohli and there's Rahane at the other end to weather this storm and see if they can get some runs. And then also, my favourite Indian batsman, Rishabh Pant, stands next to come out.
Rishabh Pant.
Punt mania. Rishabh Pant.
What does he do?
I think this game.
What does he do?
Oh, he goes. He comes out and just goes bang, 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 and knocks the ball all over the park. And I think this game needs a bit of Rishabh Pant injected into it to set it alight. So I'm not hoping that one of the Indian batsmen gets out, but when it does happen, wait with bated breath to see the emerging superstar left-hander who's been compared to the great Adam Gilchrist. See if he can get out there in the middle.
Stevie does the same role. He changes. If you're playing against Pant or Gilchrist in the past, if you don't get him out, he changes the game within an hour. So that's the challenge for the opposition.
Just to let you know, David, and Aparna in particular, Steve and I have done a few videos lately, and he's used the term bang, 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 and we've only got a mere 250,000 people that have viewed them, and every second comment is bang, bang, bang. I think Rishabh Pant is now officially called the bang, bang, bang master.
Yeah, well, that's what he does. It's what he does. And Gilchrist was the same. He's just electrifying with the bat. He makes great contact, and all of a sudden you think you've bowled a good ball and it's hit over the fence for 6. So he's an excitement machine, and we only got to see what he did to the Aussies at the Gabba and when in that record run chase, and it was an amazing thing to watch. And we've got to appreciate, even though we did it to the Aussies, and I'm still disappointed we're not in this final because I think we beat New Zealand 3-0. So how did that come about? But that's probably another story. But
come on now, Steve. You can't change the course of action.
No personal grudges. Come on.
How many years ago was that? How many years ago was that, Steve? 10 years ago?
Watch out. Now, I mean, Steve, mate.
All right. It's getting
David
personal.
and let me picture this. Imagine a football player with the red and green jumpers, which is behind Steve there, diving full length like a wicketkeeper does for a catch, diving mid-air. But mind you, he's dived over the line already. All he has to do is put the ball down. But Steve goes mid-air and then lands. And he was one of the first rugby league players to ever do that. Many have copied him
back in the heyday. Back in the heyday, but
1902, wasn't it?
Back when it was black and white television, I think. But that goes back to that super catch in the slips. That was one of the highlights of the test so far. It was a brilliant catch, and there was also another one by the keeper, the New Zealand keeper, that was brilliant as well, but it came off the leg, so it didn't count.
Yeah.
David, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
We talk too much sometimes. So, David.
No. I was just listening to one of the comments that came out around Gill, one of people, listeners writing in, leaving a message about Gill. I just think he is one of all the young players I've seen around the world. Because Steve, this is the environment that I work in terms of under-19 cricket. That when Gill was playing and Prithvi Shaw was playing for England under-19s. It's going back to watching the game at the Brabourne Stadium, which is the old ground in Mumbai. Sitting next to Rahul Dravid, I was saying when Prithvi Shaw was opening the batting, and I said, well, this bloke Rahul is an unbelievable player. He's far better than anybody we had. And he said, David, just wait until the next bloke comes in. It was Gill, and if you wanted to watch a proper player, the bloke. And he just needed to hit 3 balls. And you knew that he was a real class act. But, playing Test match cricket is the highest level, and you're going to make mistakes. And hopefully India will stick by him.
Well, he looked good. He looked good for a while, didn't he?
With Prithvi Shaw, I must quickly say before Steve, excuse me while I interrupted you, but Prithvi Shaw and Shubman Gill are the Indians under-19 revelation. England have a revelation, of course, in who were the players that were his opposition then, David? Who were the players that were?
Well, actually, in that series, Dan Lawrence played against him, and Sam Curran. So they're emerging. It's just the elegance with which Gill goes about his batting. It's a bit like comparing, and their records would be entirely different. The difference between Steve Waugh and Mark Waugh. Mark Waugh was unbelievably elegant about the way that he played, and Lawrence and Curran would be the 2 guys who would have been played against them. So.
Well, Australia's 2. One has made his way to the top side. That's Bukovsky. He's been in and out of the side of late. But there's one other fellow, and I keep mentioning this person's name, Jason Sanger, who was the Australian under-19 captain at the time, who has excelled in various formats already, playing for New South Wales and also playing for our Randwick Cricket Club here, Randwick Petersham. He'll be the next best thing. I still predict within the next 2 years we'll see Jason Sanger as captain of Australia in the same ilk.
Yeah. I would have to say there's quite a heavy conversion rate of the Indian players and English players progressing to the senior team that doesn't seem to be replicated with Australia. I don't know whether it's their attitude to under-19 cricket or whatever, but if you look at and the best example, the winners of the last under-19s were the Bangladesh team, who, half of them are already playing Test match cricket. Same with Pakistan, and actually the South Africans. The one series that in Dubai, which isn't that long ago, Rabada was the opening bowler for South Africa. Just the Australians have got some really good players. They just don't seem to have the same conversion rate. I don't know whether the supply lines are blocked by people who are still playing state cricket, because that's the thing that stops. That you've got to clear, identify young talent and give them the best possible opportunity. Which India, I would have to say, to their credit, have always done that. The only area where they haven't done it is with opening bowlers. They've tended to stick to the same opening bowlers for some time. But in terms of giving batsmen the opportunity, wicketkeepers, Pant played under-19 cricket. So he would have been a revelation in that. So for young guys to come out of school and have to bowl at him. So going back to the point of Gill, I just think he is, form is relevant, and it doesn't matter what sport it is. That you actually you've got to win games, win trophies. That's the things that keep you in the team. But I hope that India, and I'm sure they will, stick by Gill for as long as they can, really.
Absolutely. Aparna, you tell us your excitement of this match. I know you're very fond of this format and obviously of your home country, India. What's your feeling about this?
Well, I would say it has been sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it has been a very long and difficult journey for cricket, like all other sports and all walks for life, as the world struggling through a very deadly virus, and everywhere all sports went silent. So did cricket. But it's great to see some cricket back again, and obviously most weighted, I would say, the first time in history after 144 years of cricket, we see India where cricket is just not a sport. I've always said it's an emotion, and them playing in finals against New Zealand, the Kiwis. But again, the weather and the venue has been really sad disappointed for the fans out there. There has been a lot of talks going on about why and how this is going to find a winner, or it's going to be a draw. But yet again, 2 years to come to where we are to watch this final, and over 5 days of period, one match. How can you decide who's going to be the winner with these conditions? That's just very tricky, and hold the same grudge. Not against ICC, just the unfortunate weather. But yeah.
Is that rain on here? Is that on your roof?
Yeah. It's on my roof. Sorry about that. I might have to move to another location. But yeah, I think they're going to go to the 6th day. They're going to have this 6th day they're talking about because of the weather or the result, because they probably looks like there's not going to be a result after 4. So we may well have to move to that 6th day. You've got a lot of admirers on here too. Aparna, a couple of VB is keen, and Halkesh Singh can't take his eyes off you. So you're like a rose between 3 thorns here in this group.
Speak for yourself. David and I have got a great reputation. What are you talking about?
Thank you.
Has an array of hats. Anyway, so
okay.
But I think if it doesn't end up in a result,
now,
I think that I think it should be shared. I think that should be factored in. I don't think they should, after a 2-year process, come out with some sort of funky way of deciding who's won in terms of run rates or things like that. They can't find a clear winner. There's no disgrace in sharing the trophy. It's the first time they do it, because they are the best 2 teams.
Yeah, but in its current state, I mean, there's no advantage over the second best team for the first best team. Adding neutral venue to that, it becomes a bit of a lottery. These conditions are clearly more suitable to New Zealand than India, I would say, and they have lost the toss as well, which makes it worse. Ideally, the best team of the cycle or rankings should get some advantage of hosting the game or getting to choose what they want to do in the first innings instead of a toss. That's what I think.
Well, the only problem is if it's left to the 2 sides. Partner is if it's played in India, there would not be a blade of grass anywhere on the wicket, and if it was played in New Zealand, it would be played on a meadow. So the fact that you've got an impartial venue is probably the right thing to go.
At least the ball swings after 80 years.
The reality is, Aparna, actually, I understand what you're saying, but we've got about as neutral as we can get for these 2 teams.
No, England is perfect for hosting. Yeah. I understand. I'm not saying that England is not somewhere it should have been hosted, but they should have seen the forecast. Or we are in the 21st century. Everyone can plan it better. They knew that the weather's going to be. They could have done, some changes at the last minute. But yeah, I know there's pandemic. We're in the middle of it, but just saying, because this is the first time. It's a history, world. Test championship, so it's not going to be like World Cup between New Zealand and India in 2019.
Well, the reality is, I maintain we've got enough time on this ground to get a result. I don't know what you think, David and Steve, but I actually think we've got enough time available for there to be results.
Well, I think the only way that I would change the regulations is that if you lose time, the time should be added on at the end of the game, that you actually pay the actual dedicated hours over the 5 days, however many days that takes you to achieve it. I know it rains in England, but apparently it doesn't rain every single day. It's not a a monsoon type scenario. So they've lost some time. Instead of just this adding on a half hour here and there, is just toss it up, and then both sides know it's going to be added on at the end, and it's an open-ended finish. Then I think that's the best way to go.
I totally agree.
In the history of Test cricket, it's never been that way. If the result isn't in 5 days, that's it. It's either a draw, that's it. This is another day, the 6th day, which will allow it to happen. And you'd think with the way the ball's swinging and just how tense it is, that we should get a result. And I understand it'll be a little bit hollow if we go through the whole of the 5 and the 6 days and there's no declared winner after this 2-year build-up. It's been a little bit of a disaster. I could probably describe it. I know in the media there's a bit of outrage.
Yeah, I think one of the things they probably need to look at, Steve, which is around the world, is how the officials deem bad light.
Yeah.
Yes. Most grounds have floodlights. And unless there is a physical risk to the batsman, then they should continue playing.
Yeah, can you explain that, how there's lights at this ground and they're still going off for bad lights? Does this mean the lights are not up to standard, or it doesn't really make sense? I think the lights run all day, won't they?
I think it's just the interpretation of the officials. Sometimes if you switch lights on in daylight, Steve, as opposed to darkness, they're not quite as effective as if it's in the dark.
Okay.
But I think it is the interpretation of physical risk to the players, as opposed to what's written in the regulations. You can't write a rule for everything, and I think the instruction should be, particularly in a game like this, that every effort should be made to play, unless there's a physical risk to the batsman and the fielders, because the fielders also at risk if it's too dark.
Yeah, well, 2 blokes got hit in the head. So I suppose there's always a risk in cricket, isn't there? That that's just the nature of the sport. But yeah, they need to stay on the field as long as they can, because we'd love to see a result. We'd love to see plenty of runs and perhaps a few wickets today. We'll be waiting. One of our commenters is asking if Kohli can get a century today. Of course he can get a century today. He's hit plenty of them before. It's been a very slow run rate. I think it was 2 runs and over it for a while there. So if they're hitting 2 runs and over, he might get a century on day 4, the way that's going. But no, I think
I don't think so. He'll get a century today if he bats, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I think the first situation when they started batting, Steve, was to have a platform in order to, if India get to 300, they will think that that's a platform they can work with. So
for sure, that's it. It's very important they get a score in the first innings. I'm aware of that, and conditions today might be a little bit more favourable. It was amazing seeing that ball yesterday. I didn't envy anyone out there in the middle trying to see that ball swinging like that. And a credit to the New Zealand bowlers and a credit to the Indian batsmen that they had this tactical battle. And conditions might be a little bit different today. I'm seeing that the weather might be okay. If there's a bit of sun breaks through, or if it's a bit lighter, then it might be better. They might start middling the ball a bit, and we might see a few more runs and 4s. And especially if Rishabh Pant gets out there, a couple of 6s maybe, or the ball might start getting knocked around the park.
Steve, calm down about Rishabh Pant. I've got to get an anti-punt pill for you. That means you get overworked up by him. I've got to calm you down. Who's the player that gets you excited, apart?
Well, Punt. I think I was asking on the streets when there was IPL happening. It's like, support my team. I'm a Delhi Hide. It's like, who's playing in Delhi? Punt. Who pulls the pants down, guys? Come on.
Now,
that was a headline.
Munchie's just made a comment. The ICC guidelines have been like refer to any significant light improvement when they've made the decision, and that's the issue. It's very hard to return from a certain position with the lighting and the light. But look, yesterday they still bowled 65 overs, literally, which is still a good hit out in any Test match. And I think that if we get 60 odd today or more, we really should be starting to eat into the Test match, meaning we'll be into a second innings by that stage. We'll probably go even close, perhaps even the third, depending on how well India bowl. The reality is, I think we're going to have a Test result. And I think Kane Williamson and Kohli are after results, which is very impressive.
Yep.
Well, Kane Williamson has been after results ever since he landed in the UK, because he set up a perfectly acceptable declaration against England, which was not accepted, which was a shame. A shame for people who are watching the game more than anything else. There weren't any points in terms of the test table. So why not just have a game of cricket and play?
Well, I would agree. New Zealand should not, ICC should do something about it. New Zealand should not have given a game just before the World Test Championship, because that's another disadvantage for India. I mean, they have played in those conditions. They have played there. When India, no matter how many practice games you're going to give them, it still doesn't match the quality of a game when you do go out there and play with another, team who's good. So that's another. This whole thing. I would really hope that India comes out good. Well, they're trying to manage the pressure and keep the team calm. One of the most important ingredients of winning, to stay in the moment. And if they do that and they come out good, they win this World Test Championship. Considering all these disadvantages, it's a huge respect, everyone from other country, for India, and it's their moment. New Zealand wins, they've got advantages in a lot of different ways, as I've discussed before, but India is in really disadvantages, or they have no advantage whatsoever. They've lost the toss, no practice of a match. New Zealand get in the UK, play the match against England, all those things.
But having said that, Aparna, and I must say this with great care of caution, we still must understand that both teams have come into this game in a manner where really there are no excuses for either side. It's all on the table now, all guns blazing. A result is necessary. There's 1.5 million US at stake, along with 800,000 for the runner-up. It's a substantial stake. The ICC have made this happen, which is impressive. Location, no location. It's been a neutral pitch. The reality is we are now saying
it's not excuses. Neutral.
Well, it is.
I disagree with that. It's not neutral for New Zealand. They have played in those conditions or similar conditions. So that's what I'm saying. It's not neutral.
How could you not?
But it's not New Zealand. It's not New Zealand, but it is technically it is neutral. No,
it isn't.
And so what about
it's a controversial topic to discuss. If you want to go on with it, I mean, I don't think so.
Come on, let's get your ball.
You want to fight?
A bit of controversy.
David, watch out. You're in swinging distance.
Yeah, no, it's not India and it's not New Zealand. So what about the bowling attacks? I suppose you've already covered this, but New Zealand didn't go with it. It didn't really go with a recognised spinner. And actually probably got a batsman that could bowl some spin. But is that going to be a factor?
David, you want to take that question? David, you said it earlier, but it's worth talking about the spinning situation, the spinners situation.
Southampton doesn't really have a fantastic record about spinning. If you're looking at the wickets in this country, Steve, you need to look upwards rather than downwards. So cloud cover is a critical thing. So until the sun comes out, then seam bowling will probably dictate. Spin bowling is nice to have as a variation, just something slightly different. And also,
Does India bring one? Did India bring a recognised spinner though? Or is it just looking?
They've got two in the team.
Two.
There you go.
Yep.
Two. So, well, later down in the track, this conversation could become very relevant depending on how they go. Really, isn't it?
Well, also they are world-class spinners, Steve. So using the tag world-class, you can get wickets on any type of wicket. It doesn't necessarily have to spin.
Yeah. That's true.
We Aussies know about world-class spinners. We've had a couple in our past.
Here we go.
Yeah, you haven't had too many recently, Steve. I can assure you.
No, Nathan Lyon. Yeah, true. Well, there's only one Shane Warne. Let's get that right out. There's only one Shane Warne, and what a character he was. But Nathan Lyon, and we've got a couple of fair spinners. But that's
actually, when I was playing selectors, Steve, he was playing actually at Hampshire. He was the overseas player, and there's a stand named after him, I believe, at this stadium. Yeah. He's great friends with the chairman, Rod Ransgrove, and I took it upon myself.
That's rare that a foreigner has got a foreigner's got a stand named after him in another country.
Right. Well, he's that type of player, but he's.
He was.
I took it upon myself as a chairman, as a selector. Doesn't matter whether I'm chairman or not. Taking the position, I don't know all the facts, so I used to go and have a chat to him. We used to sit around the back of the stand and whatever. And as long as England weren't playing Australia, I just asked him, who are the young players in this country that you've played against who you've said, actually, I think he can play. So actually, he was very helpful, I must admit. Because if you see it through the lens of the best spinner in a generation, or then if somebody makes an impression on him, then he obviously can't play. So it's been very helpful.
Steve.
Yes. Yep. Sorry. Hello. Yes.
But you were talking about the bowling and the effect of spin, and both Galton, who was on earlier, Bhattarai, who's a senior journalist in India, and the likes of David were talking around the very fact of playing the best bowlers available. And you've got a very good point about the spinners playing a major effect of the game. But the New Zealand spinners that they had on offer, namely Patel, no longer Satner, were certainly not up to the grade of this game. And their best bowling attack were their seamers, even though they may have wanted to use a spinner. It's an intriguing play because India's best two bowlers happen to be spinners, regardless of the pace attack they've got. And hence they would play, as David said, under any conditions. They would play if it was in England, obviously in India, even in Australia. And that's the beauty of even the likes of Rishabh Pant, who's virtually an all-rounder, the likes of Jadeja, who was in fact an all-rounder. Now, David, it was interesting to hear Galton speak, wasn't it, David, about Galton was talking about the fact that David just a little bit. Galton was talking about. Did you realise that Jadeja actually scored several triple centuries domestically in India? Quite impressive. Jadeja is not just simply a spin bowler; he's actually someone who's capable of scoring big. Steve.
He's great. He's a very experienced, great player to have in the team. But I thought you were asking the question to David. A couple of other factors, behind selecting the spinners are the pace at which they can get through their overs. Important in a shortened match, and the fact that New Zealand, don't face high quality spinners very often, which is very true, and that's why this can be a little bit advantageous for India, and might be able to play in the favor that they're playing with two spinners and New Zealand with 5 seamers.
I'm just Steve, just let me know. Are you able to hear? Because Steve's got
it's a bit noisy. I just don't want to ruin your. So we've got 2 studios. When we broadcast, when it's raining, and we go to the Rabbitoh studio up at the juniors, and they've got a sound studio there. But so our studio is in an all-weather studio, and it's just like Southampton is in an all-weather ground. It's got no roof.
Perfect vibe for World Test Championship from that studio, I guess.
Yeah, it's probably fitting that we've had a day washed out and it's pouring rain here in Sydney. But so I'll have to let you go. I'll try and set up in a better location and.
Steve, can you hear us?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear this rain or?
No, sorry.
The rain is fine.
Very atmospheric background, Steve. That is.
We like the vibe for Southampton.
Well, David, you'd be used to it from over in England.
Norman, I've got to go and watch my young Chargers in a second, so I should bid my farewell. And it's not raining in the UK, partner, so you're fine. So.
Don't take it against me, David.
No, I won't. Speak to you soon. See you later.
Thanks, David. Thanks a lot for your time.
See you, mate.
Thank you. Just for the sake of Steve, and also a partner, Steve, we had cricketing royalty just on then. David Gravely being the chairman of selectors at the ECB for over 10 years. Close friends of Princess Diana, sat next to John at the funeral. Quite an amazing guy. And we are joined.
Yes,
it's almost perfect. We've gone from having England royalty to Indian royalty to
Indian royalty. I thought that was my intro.
A party of the Duchess. This is the Duke.
Oh, no. I'm not the
Duke.
Duke
Ball is still spinning after 80 years, so yeah, good enough.
Talking to spinners.
Have you met Steve Maven, Siddharth? before?
No.
Hello, mate.
Pleasure to meet Steve. Pleasure to meet Steve.
Pleasure to meet you, mate. Yes.
He's a rugby league legend and a partner of
Wow.
He invented the first aerial dive over the try line. It was him.
Oh
Swan
wow!
dive.
Pleasure to meet you. Where about in India?
Oh, well.
So, and what's your history, Siddhartha? You're obviously a former world famous cricketer.
No, not I'm a famous gully cricketer. I mean, I've just played within my homes. I've hit 39 runs in 1 over. That's my record. My highest score is
still more than Norman.
Yeah. How did I do that? 2 no balls, 4s, and rest 4 6s.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gee, you're on that. You're seeing it like basketballs in that over, were you?
Yeah. I mean, he was a dibbly dobbly. I just whacked him out of the park.
Was this in the backyard? Was it, or was it on a
backyard. Big backyard. Big backyard.
So Delhi, are you a Delhi Capitals man? Are you?
No. I am. Norman knows my history. I was born in Mumbai, so I should technically be Mumbai Indians. But my parents are from Chennai. My parents are from Chennai, so I should be a Chennai Super Kings fan. I worked in Bangalore and I worked in Delhi, so I'm an RCB and a Delhi Capitals fan. So I don't know which fan I am from, definitely. So.
Well, what about
the
Bhopal Chiefs? They got a team?
There is no such team. This place doesn't produce anything. I'll give I'll tell you how Bhopal is. Bhopal is like a beautiful statue. It's great from the inside, from the outside. Inside, it's empty. Absolutely nothing.
Very hard to find.
Indeed.
Not find anything in India. You got to be kidding me. Every corner, every kilometer you go, different language, different food, different people, different slang. It's amazing.
You can come here and experience the biryani and the kebabs. It's after all been the Begum culture in India. This place was dominated by Begums for 400 years, not the kings.
Yeah, that's true. We'll definitely have a gully cricket game with Steve Waugh planned, as Norman know. Definitely going after the COVID finish. We're going Steve Waugh, Norman and me are playing a game of gully cricket.
Nice.
We had an interview for his new book, The Spirit of Cricket India.
Nice.
Great man. He promised every person that he took photos and interacted with that a game of cricket. So that's how that many matches he ended up playing. And gully cricket, there's nothing better than gully cricket. There's thousands of people playing different matches at the same time.
Absolutely.
But
well, I'm glad that
a partner can only play tennis though. You played.
If you can hit a ball, Norman, that's about it.
Yeah. If you can hit a ball, that's it.
and you don't get run out. So I won't get run out. At least.
Oh yeah. Are you quick? Are you a punny? Got you quick between the wickets?
I'm an athlete. So I play tennis. Obviously I run between 2 lines of the corners of the court. I've seen Norman get out. He played in barrel for SCG 11. It's like, all right, Norman, yay. By the time we stopped clapping, he was already coming back.
There's a slight exaggeration.
Oh, really, Norman?
On here. Slight exaggeration.
Really, Norman?
On here. But actually, both Stephen Siddharth, what we've got here is someone who could have played for India in tennis. She was at the state level.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, played hard.
You are an athlete.
I was like, let's go to cricket. So Norman took me in the team. So I was like, let's become a journalist or let's talk about cricket.
Well, I mean, Aparna's been on Sports Tack, on ABP News, Sports Today, all of them. She's been on all of them. She's a bit of a legend. Actually. Now, let's get back to the game now. Anshuman Galton, who is also known as Music Harmony. Let's see what's really going on when we'll get the answer when New Zealand bats. And that's a very good point. The reality is, I must quit, I'm sure Siddharth will agree with this, India have been superb yesterday. They really handled those superbly to be only 3 down. The way in which both the 4 batsmen that we earmarked to nick, 2 did, but 2 haven't. What I'm getting at is they've done sensationally well. The one that we probably expected to do well out of the 5 was Pujara, and he failed. The irony was the other 4 have done so well. I believe that if they score 100 runs to maybe 150, that's enough for them to actually not only have a successful first innings, but also win the
No,
match.
you can't say Pujara didn't do anything. He was trying to make the ballers get, tired. So he was doing the job for the upcoming batsmen.
But
look, the Indian players, I mean, credit to them. I mean, they watched the ball. I mean, Saudi and all were bowling, hooping outswingers, but then they watched the ball well. They played it softly. That is the key thing. They played it softly. They tempted Kohli with outswingers and get one to nip back in. But Kohli was watchful. That intent is very similar to the one that he experienced in 2018 Edgbaston. So New Zealand better nip that in the bud. Otherwise, he's not had 100 for 450 days in tests. Today, he batted for the first time in tests against West Indies 10 years ago. Today was the day.
Wow.
So, and today is also the day of the equinox. I think you know what the equinox is, right?
Yes, of course.
So today, it is all aligned for Kohli to break that jinx, 470 days.
Amazing.
It looks
it's superstition. Let's not talk about that.
Well, again,
Jarvis played 54 balls and only got 8 runs, so he did see a lot. He watched a lot, and then
but Steve,
production. But
at least New Zealand got him nipped in the bud. Otherwise, he would have been still 20 of 200 balls. At least, At least the Aussies couldn't get him out even after that. So that was a problem.
Yeah. Now, Kohli was a real masterclass.
They've forgotten about Gava. What are you guys talking about? Like, at least India is in the finals. You should be taking India's side. They have beaten
you won.
Finals.
Yes.
Come on, guys.
Well, unfortunately,
we're losing. In fact, I'm going to reposition the screen here. We need to have a battle line drawn. There we go.
Look, unfortunately,
Aussie.
I love everything to do with black. I like the All Blacks. I like the Black Caps. So, is that Richie McCaw behind, Steve? Is that Richie behind?
No, that's Adam. That's our captain, Adam Reynolds, and that's Sam Burgess, famous Sam Burgess. There, he's a South Sydney legend, and that's our captain, Adam Reynolds. So a couple of Rabbitohs, but they like.
See what we're going to do now is every Indian that comes on my show has to pledge an oath of allegiance to the South Sydney Rabbitohs.
Yes, that's right.
Siddharth, put your hand up.
But I did that.
Bulldogs.
You did
Bulldogs.
Bulldogs.
No, not the Bulldogs. No, the greatest team of all, the mighty red and green South Sydney Rabbitohs. But
partner, 2014 South Sydney 1,000,000 Bulldogs 0. We won that grand final. Don't forget that.
We did beat them.
Still going on. I think it's next week. This week or next week? On Saturday, Bulldogs playing, I think.
Yeah,
they just lost today. They lost today to the Eels, so they're not going real well. So, but Siddharth, I was just saying it.
You don't change teams. I'm India.
No, you can't change teams.
No,
when South play the Bulldogs and partner, Steve and I will take you along to the match. All right, that's good.
All right.
Yeah, we'll get you on.
I saw a video you two did in front of the Harbour Bridge, the iconic Harbour Bridge, and you do some good stuff. Your cricket show, Eyes on Cricket with Norman Koshanek, very good. And if you and subscribe to this channel, he's got a great channel. And if you haven't, subscribe to our channel, Rabbitohs TV. We produce some good content as well. We talk some cricket, some Indian Premier League. And Siddharth, we'll get you to subscribe to us. But we're only saying before, my favourite cricketer, Delhi Capitals legend, emerging superstar, Rishabh Pant, coming in next.
But hang on.
And we think this.
You're not going for Delhi Capitals. That's Darren Brown. Your team is.
I know it's Darren.
Knight Riders.
I like the Kolkata Knight Riders, I know, but I just do think that I wish Punt was playing for Kolkata. We'd be a better chance of winning it. But yeah, so we're just saying that we think once Rishabh Punt comes in, he could shake this Test match up and give it a bit of much needed spark that the game's needing.
Well,
Munchie's just look at this. Munchie's a go Parramatta. How dare you?
Parramatta.
Oh no.
Okay, now we'll go back to the game. We're turning the cricket now. We've got only some.
No, delayed start. No, it won't start on time.
Oh,
yep,
it's raining.
There'll be an inspection. Yes. From yesterday night till the morning, it has been pouring in Edgbaston. In Southampton. So now there'll be a delayed start. Today there is an intermittent spell of rain from 1 to 2 local time there, but Monday is going to be a repeat of the first day. Total washout on Monday.
Oh well, this game we've saying it before.
20%.
Yeah, but this game's really been a one setback after the other, and it really is a shame as this global centerpiece of cricket has turned into this shambles of wet weather. And so we've been talking about whether they've picked the wrong venue and there's been COVID. It's just not meant to be, I don't think. And where they really needed it to be
I would like to argue, Steve. I mean, if you have to get out of the novelty of hosting a finals, why it has to be always England? If you want for right broadcasting times as well as biosecure venues, why don't you do it in the UAE? It's convenient to travel, and it's broadcasting wise also it is very good. I mean, come on,
good weather on the side.
They have a hotel there as well. Either do it in Dubai or Abu Dhabi or Sharjah.
Steve, don't fall for the Indian conspiracy theory. They're Aparna and Sudan are trying to hijack this match. I can see it clearly.
Yeah, but why not the UAE? They've got great weather. At least you wouldn't be, wash out. You'd have probably a lot more bright sunny days. I mean, and that's still a neutral venue. Maybe there's a lot of politics involved. Maybe there's a few Englishmen in the committee that decide where this game is played. I don't know, too controversial.
There's your answer for Munchie.
No, but why would you want to trade that for a game in Indian conditions where they're invincible already,
Okay, let's just hold thought for a minute. The reality is it's not based on anything untoward. It was done as fairly as possible. The choice of England for the test was a very fair decision. It was a very right decision. The ICC tried to be as neutral as possible. Clearly, UAE is certainly another example of weather permitting. Better. I agree with that. But what's actually taken place here hasn't really favoured either side. We can't say that. Even though New Zealand are more used to conditions, you would argue, it could well have been Australia who played. It could well have been South Africa or any other team. At the time, it was ordained to be where it was, and the date that it was before the teams were known. So
they saw England playing. That's why they decided England, because there would be no advantage and it'd be neutral.
No, but again, Norman, Aparna, the fact is that since they're playing in Southampton, the novelty factor is gone.
That's true.
If it was Lords, it would have been higher. They primarily planned it for Lords. But since due to the COVID situation, you weren't hosted at Lords, the build-up wasn't that high in Southampton. If you look at even the local British press weren't so gung-ho about Southampton. Yeah. If you had not wanted to pick Southampton, you had picked Old Trafford, Manchester. I mean, the football is also going side by side in Wembley. You could have had it in Old Trafford rather than a 3,000 capacity in Southampton. Even Old Trafford has a hotel near the venue.
Oh, I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong. I'm not saying that. But I think when it comes down to it, both teams have the same conditions to put up with. There's no, once they step onto the field, there are no longer any excuses. The frustration for me is one thing, and that is if we don't get a result and it's shared. I can't stand it. David Gravity said earlier he thought it'd be a good idea. Galton, but it's right, was on. He was brilliant. That communication between David and Galton was sensational. It was magnificent. But what they were talking about was we've got to go into this match with the attitude of no excuses because we want that to be the charm of the event. This is going to go down in history. Aparna, do you realise the history of this match? Do you realise this is the most significant test match, I would argue, ever? Into the future? This will go down
100%. 100%.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, New Zealand captain, he hasn't even won one World Cup sort of a title, but Virat Kohli is definitely going for it. And he's very calm as compared to what he has said that, I don't care, this is just another game. But, this is just to stay in the moment. And I don't believe that it does not have any disadvantage. They have been given disadvantage. Can you hear me?
No,
you're breaking in the middle. Yeah. You're breaking in the middle.
Keep talking. You're okay now.
Yeah, so definitely they have, if they come good in this one, it would be even better result for a history because
absolutely.
Everything is against them. Losing the toss, let's say,
It happened to the Gabba. Aparna, it happened to the Gabba. Everything was against them. They lost 9 players. They had their least side. They struggled through the fourth test and got a draw, which was magnificent. They won the last. That's the same scenario. They're up against it this time. They've got conditions against them. They batted so well yesterday. I was so proud of Gill and Sharma. Their opening partnership, albeit 62, was the most important 62 runs you'll ever score. Would you agree, Siddha?
Yep, indeed. I mean, if you have to look at it, if India does win, the debate on which is the best team in the world, I think we will have finally got an answer to it. We were wondering, after Australia who, after South Africa who, it's bona fide India if it happens. But the only thing that is standing in India's way is the weather. Because today, we will not be starting on time. There are intermittent showers at 1, 2 o'clock. That's 20%. There will be a delay in that also. But tomorrow, unfortunately, on the 4th day, there is total rain, 100%. 5th day, we will get some play. But again, there's 60% chances of rain even on the 5th day. But I think India have done enough. I think India have done enough to show that they are the best team in the world by a country mile. New Zealand are only there, again, unfortunately, because Australia were docked those 4 points. And their overseas record in this cycle was not at all great. They were whitewashed in Australia 3-0, 1-1 in Sri Lanka, and their series in Bangladesh was cancelled. So India have won 5 series. Their loss only came in New Zealand, but they won in Australia. So that equates everything out. So the debate over who's the best team in the world, irrespective of the World Test Championship, it should be India. If they do well in the 5 tests against England, it will cement that reputation.
Well, absolutely.
Country mile is quite controversial to say that England are. That India are in front by country mile, because New Zealand is still a great cricket team, and the reason they're in this game is because of the results that they've produced. So, and they've got a great batting lineup, and look what they did with the ball yesterday. They tormented the Indians, and so country mile is a big statement. And there's a lot of New Zealanders probably that are watching this and might take you to task on that.
Steve, I must temper what you said, though. I don't think New Zealand necessarily tormented the Indian batsmen. They bowled, certainly Jameson bowled well, and I thought de Grandhomme did. But to be honest with you, Bolt, certainly Southey, and even Wagner to an extent were below par. They weren't their best. As well, if they were on song, that India would have been 6 or 7 down. Easily.
I mean,
yeah, okay. Stand corrected. Tormenting might have been a bit of a heavier word, but maybe country mile was a little bit as well. But
no, but I have just one thing about Saudi. I have just one thing about Saudi. You should not have rested Saudi at Edgbaston. Plain and simple. You should not have. So see, he struggled for a bit of rhythm on the first day when he bowled.
Absolutely.
If by that yardstick issue you even rested Wagner, but you didn't rest Wagner for Edgbaston, you bowled him on. So again, he didn't find the right length. Saudi didn't find the right length and the right swing. Bowled 2. So I guess today they will want to find the right rhythm, right lengths. Let's hope they can do what they do the best. Because these are conditions like you can see in the Basin Reserve or in Hagley Oval.
Apparently, the conditions are making a decision. The umpires.
They will take a decision at 10:20 local time, which is in 2 minutes' time. Yeah, they are doing the inspection now. Yep.
Let's have a look. Yeah, so it's like we said, it'd be devastating if the light's bad. Yeah,
the light's
you know
bad.
what? This light scenario that really annoys me. Because that if it's bad enough that it rains, that's bad enough. But when you start bringing light into play, you know what? Have a bit of strength, guys, and play in these conditions. Seriously.
No. I would have a better solution for this. If there is a situation of the bad light, why don't you play with the pink ball?
Why not?
Why don't you play with the pink ball when it resumes? Resume with the red ball. Have that kind of innovation to take out bad light out of the equation. The pink ball is made for bad light. Play with the pink ball. And when it's normal, resume with the red ball. You guys have anyway got all the techniques in the world. You're stressed up like turkeys. You're stuffed up like that. You got from head to toe. You're all protected. Why you need to worry about it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
I agree.
Well, it sounds like the whole format's going to probably be under scrutiny now for a revamp. The venue is going to come under be looked at. The light issues, the ball, and this showpiece really needs to be. You want it to be this, like we've got the World Cup in soccer, we've got the World Cup in rugby and Test cricket. was looking for this thing, and you've only got a one-day final on a T20. But it's just a bit of a shame that, firstly, that the Aussies aren't playing, and that secondly that it has been reduced to this rain delay, and there's not a lot of runs, and we haven't seen Rishabh Pant out in the middle yet. Get him out there.
Oh, Steve, would you calm down? And by the way, I think Steve's jealous, Siddharth, because it's actually Darren Brown who's offside that has a true love affair and is going for the Delhi Capitals. And Steve's neglecting his Kolkata Knight Riders. I'm a bit upset about that. You're a KKR fan. You're a turncoat. Now, suddenly you're Delhi Capitals. What's going on?
I know. Well, look, my allegiance might be changing the way Rishabh.
Steve is in my shoes. I don't know which team to support.
Well, you've been to that many places in India. You are a real journeyman. We've had some some rugby league players like that. They play for more clubs than Greg Norman, and so. But so Bhopal is obviously famous for the disaster that happened years ago. I don't know much about that area in India, but it's I'd love to go to India. I'd love to go there and have a vindaloo and some dal and some naan bread and rice and just soak up all the.
When the COVID situation eases out, hopefully it doesn't rise again. Please do come.
Can you guys just stop talking about bloody food? You're making me hungry. For God's sake, I'm sitting here thinking about this food. Look, I can see the Indian team are in a huddle at the moment. Currently, they're all in a huddle.
Yeah, I'm watching that too.
And the actual centre wickets visible.
It's got the covers on.
The covers are to one side. They're not actually on the
pitch. It looks quite bright. It looks like bright, Norman, and it doesn't look like it's pissing down in rain. I'm allowed to say that on your show, but it's not raining. It doesn't look like it's raining too heavily.
We just have said that way as well.
And it doesn't look too doom and gloom, so there must be some hope. They're in consultation now about.
They're consultation now, absolutely now. I think the wicket looks fine, and it's been about bad moments. It annoys me. This is too protocol driven, way too protocol driven.
Mate, what about if they what about if they made this final in the new rules? They said, look, doesn't matter if it's raining. It's like a gladiator test. You just get out there. Rain, hail, or shine. Doesn't matter about the wicket. Just get out there and play cricket until we get a result.
Yeah, okay. Now, Munshi and Anshuman Galson are two very. Anshuman Galson is also called Music Harmony. He and Munshi are two regulars, and they've been talking on the sidelines. The reality is, this World Test Championship is actually final is actually decided by bad weather. Then the whole thing is a failure. I totally agree, and I think. Yep. Is there any possibility they can change to add another day on? Is it absolutely out of the question, or can they make a change on the run? Why can't they make a change on the run?
They can't. I mean, it will be broadcasting logistics. It will be ticket allocations and all those other off-the-field logistics, which will make it a nightmare. You're fixed up on a venue because what happens is when you decide on the venue, about a week or 10 days before the broadcasters arrive and they set up the whole thing there. After that, they decide to broadcast because it will not be like, oh, I have to come there one day before the final and set everything up. Broadcasting all the things that takes a lot of time. The wires, the spider cam, the DRS machine.
But hang on, but now that they're set up, it's not a matter of changing that. It's adding another day on. I think that'd be less of a logistical hassle.
Yeah, I mean, again, there is a reserve day, but I don't think they will go into the reserve day provided if on the 5th day, New Zealand has still not come out to bat. Then what do you do? So I don't think they will go into the reserve day in that situation. So they have to choose the venue well, which is why I said the UAE factor might be good for the broadcasting sake and for biobubble security sake. Because
are you suggesting that they could abandon this game and play it somewhere else? No.
Because after this, in July first week, the new cycle will be determined. And India-England will be the first cycle of the second ICC World Test Championship.
So what you're talking about is down the track playing the UAE. Okay, let's have that conversation another day. That's something that they can decide. But we're dealing with this now, and let's pray that we get at least... I don't think you need 5 days. I think 3.5 days to maybe 4 will be enough. Now, if they can ink out those days somehow through some miracle, we're going to have a result because Kane Williamson will declare to put the pressure on if they get the chance to, and so will Kohli. They'll put pressure on the oppositions in a way which we'll leave it open to a win either way. I'm convinced. No one's going to sit there and bat out the rest of the day.
So talking about those two guys, they were talking about it on the commentary yesterday. They're obviously they're great mates, Kohli and Kane, and then this comes down to, is it like, I think Vamasetti Vithali's making a few comments, but one of his questions was about the toss, and do you think it may come back to bite Williamson that he sent in an Indian batting lineup that can destroy oppositions, but he made that decision at the time to bowl, and very often you want to go out and bat first in a big game, don't you? So,
well, that's an Australian perspective, though. It's very much an Australian perspective, Steve, because if you talk to David Graveney and the likes of Chris Vernon and even Munchie, who's online, who are true English background, their discussion all the way along was to bowl first. They actually said that they would bowl first. It's very unlikely.
You're putting Kohli in. You're putting one of the greatest batsmen of all time in, and today, if he comes out and gets a century, then I think the New Zealanders would have wished they batted first, wouldn't they?
Well, you're right. But I think they were banking on getting a lot of wickets in the first day. Quite frankly, they were banking on it. And we must commend Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill. Their 62-run opening partnership is worth its weight in gold. Because realistically, on that wicket, they should have been 3 or 4 down by 60. Correct?
So good. You are a good analyst. Good analyst, aren't you, Norman? You could be sitting in the commentary box talking like that. That's what's happened. They took the dent, a big dent out of the New Zealand attack, and they weathered the storm, and that's put them in this position now.
That 62-run partnership was monumental, absolutely monumental. Even though they lost a few shortly after, they only lost one for the rest of the day, and that allowed Kohli and Rahane to dictate terms and allow the potential of a punt. Because let's not forget, punt's next in, but there's also Jadeja, who scores triple centuries, as Galton made very clear to me earlier.
Wow.
Didn't he?
Wow.
Triple centuries.
Three triple centuries.
But coming in at number 7, and he's hit... That's an embarrassment of riches then, isn't it? Surely a batting right down the order like that.
And you've got Ashwin at 8.
And Ashwin scored 3 centuries as well at Test level and was an opening bat.
Wow.
He actually was originally an opening batsman, but he's batting 8.
Yeah.
So they're not slouches.
But again, the only thing that is hurting India is the weather. Yeah. Because today you'll have a delayed start. Tomorrow it's a full washout as predicted by 4-5 weather agencies there. Full washout tomorrow. And then on the 5th day, you have 40-50% chance of rain again. The only day that you don't have a rain is on the reserve day. But I don't think we are even getting there.
Or the days before the match, they were clear. It was clear as anything before the match.
No, but again, India didn't complete the quarantine. That's the problem.
No, I appreciate it, but it was ironic for the days just before the match. That was clear as
It always happened. But 2 weeks prior to the match, 2 weeks to 15 days, it was a heat wave in Southampton. There was a heat wave. But now the weather's caught up big time. So
well, it's just bad timing, isn't it?
Had to go. Would you believe a partner had to go? And she's telling us on air, "Hey, I'm sorry, guys, I had to go. Time has flew by. I had prior commitments. We'll join next time." That's great.
Well, I feel privileged to have been on the air with your counterpart, Norman. She's obviously a lovely lady, and she knows her cricket. And I've seen some of your videos. You've got a great partnership there. But she's a big member of the team here at Eyes on Cricket with Norman Koshanek.
It's quite funny because I'm not funny. You should see her play tennis. It's scary. She whips my butt big time, and I'm not bad, even though I'm a bit chubby. I'm pretty good at playing cricket tennis. She just smashed me. There's a video. Yeah. I'll show you a video with it. She's playing it. It's whoa. It's a bit like a Serena Williams gone wrong there. I'll say it.
11 a.m. start. We're hearing Jupiter rules. Yep. Thank you for that. 11 a.m. start. So that's what's that? Only they're losing half an hour.
45 minutes. Yep. 35 minutes. 35 minutes.
She's also enjoyed the match. Good to see you, Stephen Siddharth. Thanks, Norman.
Thanks, Aparna. Thank you so much.
But see, we're going to realise, guys, the first 2 guests I had on, David Graveney, who all both met. You were on with David Siddharth, but Galton Bhattacharya, he's amazing, isn't he? Galton's a magnificent author. He has a great talent with journalism. He would be one of the best journalists, wouldn't he? Really, he and probably VJ, who I had on yesterday.
Yeah,
two of the best.
Indeed.
All right, guys. We've got to. Well, so what's the time? It's 11 o'clock. It's starting. We've got about half an hour, haven't we? So the play will start at 11 o'clock. That's what they're saying.
That's what they're saying. 11 a.m.
That's
start.
What they're saying. Yeah, 11 a.m. start. So we'll have uninterrupted play till the second session. Towards the second session at the end, we'll have intermittent showers. After that, it's fine for the rest of the day. Today is the last day. From Monday, again, it'll be a horrendous weather condition on Monday.
No.
But Munchie's 120 miles. I mean, that's pretty far off. It's the other end of England where he's staying. 120 miles.
Yeah.
The weather's different there.
Munchie's made a comment that I can't put up. I just put up a quick and pull it off. We are talking to still when she's no, can't. Careful. Okay. So hang on. Salvaram Dawashi's asking, Steve Maven, your favourite fisherman?
Fishman?
What's favourite fisherman?
Sure.
Or
did you mention you're a fisherman? I'm not sure. You're a stevedore.
No. I like. Well, my favourite fishes would have to be salmon.
Okay, there you
go. Perhaps lobster.
Oh.
I do like seafood.
You guys are making me hungry. Like Norman said, I am also getting hungry.
We need a curry. We need a seafood platter.
Oh,
hot and cold seafood platter.
I'm gonna eat my hand in a minute. I'm so bloody hungry. All right, okay. We saw what happened yesterday. 3 for 167, correct?
3 for 146.
146. Sorry, my apologies. 3 for 146. I got that wrong. But on the basis of that scoreline, what would you expect from today? Let's say they get 2/3 to 3/4 of the day play. So that, what's your take on that? What do you see, or what do you hope? What do you see happening?
I hope that they can get to 350, 375 full days play permitted, because I think the key will be Rishabh Pant. Because looking at the scoring rate, it's just over 2. I think Pant can get it close to 3 if he sets in. His quick runs will be key in saving a lot of time. Because I think run scoring is not that easy on this wicket. So Kohli will have to settle in, Rahane will have to settle in. So the first couple of hours will be a bit attritional. After that, they can just go hammer and tongs. 375 to 400 will be a great score on this deck.
Oh,
and then
a monumental score. That'll be a
and maybe you may just need 1 day to take 20 wickets. Who knows? Anything might happen on the 5th day. If the 4th day is a total washout.
You might know this. The Punt has actually one of the only countries he hasn't succeeded against to date is the Kiwis.
New Zealand.
So that may be something in the back of their mind that they think they can get him. But he'd be out there trying to prove a point. Then I suppose we need to get some runs against our southern cousins that are across the dish.
Yeah. Yep.
Across the ditch.
Indeed.
Yeah.
He'll be
maybe your southern cousins, but I have German background, so no, I have not that same feeling.
We're the Anzac spirit. Where's your Anzac spirit, Norman? Come on. We fought together in the.
It's here in spirit. It's here in spirit.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, well, we always bag the Kiwis, but we do love them. They're a lot like us Aussies. They very laid back people, and they love their sport. And anyone who's out there listening now, good luck to you guys. And I'm quite neutral there because I do love Indian cricket as well. But I just hope there's a good game. I hope that we see some good play today. We're on this show talking it up, and so far it's been a bit of a fizzer. And yes, it's a tactical battle yesterday. It was a tactical battle, and there's some great cricket played. But we want to see some runs. We want to see
still great cricket to watch.
Yeah,
it was still great.
Yeah. We want to see some wickets. We want to see some sixes.
Let's read this. Siddharth, can you read it? Can you?
Read it? I agree. Test cricket, when played in the UK, looks the best. Especially Lords, like you mentioned, Munchie. But sorry, if rain keeps interrupting play regularly, I would rather play somewhere else.
Yeah,
it's a big.
Well, that's right. Well, it is, and it's in summer in England. You wouldn't expect this. You know, you should get some fair weather in summer, but unfortunately, you know, summer in England can be like winter anywhere else, and this is the dilemma that's being faced right now.
No, and I think you can't play in the wintertime in South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand because they play other sports in that period, right? This is the season of rugby, football, in those parts. So the grounds will not be available at that time as well. So playing in South Africa, Australia, and in New Zealand doesn't make sense at that time also. Logistically, the fan base will also not be there because obviously Australia and New Zealand will be hooked on rugby and the Aussie rule football season, obviously. So where will they play?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
There's a question there: who would be a faster runner? Who would be faster, a running rugby player or a cricketer running? Well, I'd have to lean towards a rugby player, rugby league, because we are a contact sport and we feel like we've got some elite athletes, like big, strong, fast. Whereas cricketers, it's non-contact, and some of those can be a bit more slider, and they don't have to be muscles and big legs and running machines. They can be elegant. And they can be so it's a different sport. So I think yes, I think a rugby league athlete would be.
I mean, I
think just let me say, look, the reality is he's just saying that because he was a winger and he used to run fast and dive. He's just
I could run, yeah. Well, I ran 10.6 for the 100 once. I ran 10.6 for the 100, so I was quite quick. I was the state champion back in my younger days. But yes, speed is an important asset in rugby league, but it's not so much in cricket. But look, Kohli is quick between the wickets. Getting back to today's game, it's great to be quick between the wickets, and that is a huge asset in the game to be able to, turn 2 into 3. It's big. Can decide games.
If I have to look at the fastest rugby runner, to my mind, who comes first is Bowden Barrett of the All Blacks. He's supremely quick, if I have to look at it. And even Nonu, if I have to say. I don't, even in the Aussies, I would say, Michael Hooper, incredibly quick.
It's interesting you talk about fitness, though, for a moment. Forgetting speed, clearly the rugby would win out of there. But in terms of true fitness, Virat Kohli's fitness is beyond reproach. He is supremely fit. He works extremely hard on his fitness, and he's or raised the standards of Indian fitness all round to the point where they're competitive against anyone. So that's a big change in Indian cricket, is the level of fitness of their players.
Because he's had to manage his... He's got to manage his long-term injury. He's got a long-term back injury. Because he's played with such force throughout his career, he's managing a long-term back injury. That's why he's had to change his fitness, his dietary patterns. So he's not gone vegan. He's into a vegetarian diet a lot more now, so that he can manage his fitness.
Yeah, and that's a big thing in Australia too. A lot of people are eating a lot more vegetables because it's better for your health. But just on Kohli, at one stage there yesterday, he's such a correct batsman, and he got right behind the ball. And I think the commentator said, "To all your young guys out there, have a look at this. This is how you get behind the ball. Perfect, perfect." And that he's just he's one of the greats of all time. So you just have to watch him play to learn how to play. But just before we move on from rugby, Siddharth, can you tell me why rugby union and rugby league have not taken on in your country? Is there a place for, say, a rugby union team in the Super Rugby or a rugby league or the sports, those sort of sports in general, to get a bigger foothold in your country?
There are 3 reasons. Number one, we didn't get that much of rugby knowledge right from the very beginning. I'm surprised how the Sri Lankans got so much of rugby league, because they have a robust rugby league in their own country, but they don't qualify. I don't know why. We didn't have that much of rugby knowledge. Second, I don't know. I guess we are not physically built enough for rugby, because rugby needs power and speed. I think we lack in the speed factor. And 3, I think there was not much investment made for the growth of rugby in India, because primarily it is cricket. If you look at our sporting structures in India, we invest heavily in cricket, but we've not invested heavily in other sports as well. So when we have success on the global stage, we invest at that time. But rugby, it's restricted to hardly 1 or 2 cities, and we don't pursue it full time. So that's why I think we don't have that necessary infrastructure, necessary mindset for rugby. That's the main reason, I think. Because Australia,
I was just saying, we've got to be wary of the game. We need to be wary of the.
Sorry, the game's coming up. We went on the sidetrack there, but thank you for that answer. That's interesting to hear that, because we're trying to get people to follow the South Sydney Rabbitohs over there. But yes, back to the game. And Norman, what's your view of the umpire review yesterday? So that was controversial. Did they stop the play and they went and had a look at a play? There was no DRS. So what happened there? There was no appeal. Isn't the rules of cricket? There's no. What happened there?
I don't know why this has happened. Where does the umpiring protocol comes into place? Because I am just Bolt appealed for the catch. Okay. he didn't go for the review, Williamson. But why did the umpire decide to go with the third umpire and say, let's just review it? There wasn't any soft signal as well. Yeah, there was no soft signal also. So I just don't understand why. And see, accordingly, the rules are like this. Okay, the playing conditions are: if the circumstances demand, the on-field umpire shall have the discretion to refer the decision to the third umpire or to consult with the third umpire before making the decision. So if you have to read the rule book, nothing was wrong in it. But because the umpires and because the cameras did not spot Illingworth giving the soft signal, I think that's where the confusion began. The umpires didn't see. Maybe Illingworth would have given the soft signal out, so he decided to just check it with the third umpire because an appeal was made.
Yeah, but Kohli was quite amused by it all. I think he went at one stage. He went like this, and he said it didn't get anywhere near it, and it perhaps was closer than that. But he smiled about it because he knew that.
Yeah, the main confusion came because the signal was not shown. That's where the confusion arose. It's even a lesson for broadcasters. They show everything properly. Why you have to show the fans? Why you have to show it to the batsman? Show the whole incident.
He was not out though. He was not out.
Yeah, it was not out. No, there was no noise. That was it. That was it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had another look at that one. So yeah.
So
has Steve heard of the sport?
My point is what was the umpire checking? Can't be a catch. It was clearly taken
for the edge. They had appealed probably for the edge, but he thought that the soft signal was out, so he just checked the soft signal. I mean, the third umpire confirmed no edge, so they were just checking the edge. There was no doubts over the catch, the edge.
Right.
No, I haven't heard of Kabaddi.
There's a question for you, Steve. We'll just digress for a moment. Have you heard of the game Kabaddi?
I haven't, but I'd like to know about Kabaddi. Can you help me out with that one, boys?
Yes. So Kabaddi, it's like a very high intense action game. I mean, what we have is 6 players and 6 players from each team. We try to tag a player and then we go into our side. These guys catch us and then somehow we have to get across to our side. Then we get a point.
Okay.
So all these guys try to prevent us from going to the other side once we have tagged them or we have attacked them.
Yep.
It's loosely a comparison to rugby in a way, loosely. There's not really try lines, but there's
we are not playing for the ball. We are not playing for the rugby ball as such. We are just ensuring that the team members from the other side, their numbers reduce, our numbers increase, and we get a point.
Yeah, so it sounds like something we used to play in the playground, like high cocky Laura or rumbles, and you just used to
cocky Laura.
Like
my god, that's a term I haven't heard for cocky Laura. Do you know what cocky Laura is? I know Steve does. Do you know that?
No, I don't know. I don't know.
Laura, quickly. So,
well, it's just you just used to. It was that long ago. I was about 8 years old last time I played it. That was a lifetime ago. But it was just basically a battle of 2 opposing groups of young guys just trying to batter each other, basically.
And tag, and the form of tag, really.
It's like tag.
All right, Steve brought in rugby league. We brought in rugby. We brought in. I brought in Kabaddi. It was God knows what else. Okay, now back to the
tennis.
Game. Tennis as well. That was a part of it. So Siddharth, 3 for 146. You're saying very optimistically 350, 325, 400. Realistically, I would say 300 would be a good
300. Yeah, that should be the minimum score because a 275 total is kind of middling. Looking at the conditions and looking at the number of overs we may get in. So let's assume day 4 is a washout. You only have 1 day. So at that point in time, if you get 375, supposing you just bat first, bat only once and get 2 chances at the opponents. Because somehow for the big occasion, I don't think New Zealand have that mental strength to go for it. I mean, Bumrah, Shami and Ishan will explore the conditions better than what Bolt and Saudi did.
So Kohli won't declare. He won't declare. You think they want to? They'll bat into day 3 to amass a massive score, then just try and get New Zealand out twice.
Bat once, bat big, bowl New Zealand out twice. Because I don't think you can come back and build a lead and give them a target. I don't think there's that much of time in it in the match.
The reality
no sporting declaration between these friendly captains that have built this And it was good. I don't know if you heard that commentary yesterday talking about the life off the field. It was quite deep and meaningful, but it's true. You know, they've just because they're enemies or not, you know, they're rivals on the field. They've built this friendship, and there's life outside of cricket. And they're actually, from what I believe, both extremely nice gentlemen off the field and quite friendly. But there'll be no friendly declaration late today or anything.
There will be a clever declaration though if it comes to it, where someone like Kohli or more so Williamson will actually put pressure on a declaration where a result can be made, like they did in the first Test match against England. Very much the case. Just on that point, though, as far as this batting first is concerned, let's say they get between 300 and 350. Realistically, 300 is going to be a total they're going to expect to get. No team after this point will get anywhere more than 200. That's my bet. None of the next 3 innings will be more than 200. There'll be less than that. They could even be as low as 120, 150. That's my prediction. So this 300 is actually more than enough.
So supposing, I mean, let us discount that Centurion Test of 2000. Match referee, umpires, captains, all in a transparent way talk. Okay, India have been bowled out for 325. You only have this 1 day left. Declare both innings. New Zealand chase 326. Will they agree to that after whatever has happened? That might give an added context to Test cricket.
That would be sensational.
With the rules in that sense.
That would be sensational.
Well, that'd be big. Yeah. But if they get beaten, then that'd be controversial. Let's say, why do you open it up to lose the game when you could have had a draw?
People would admire that. People would admire
because see,
well, I would.
The 100%. finer print in that Centurion double for declaration, the match referee found it was not against the rules. It emerged later that Cronje had that bet. Unfortunately,
but
in the rules they didn't do anything, and I think it even happened in one county game also, I guess, in England, I think for the championship. So looking at the number of overs lost, looking at the number of action that we lost due to rain, let the umpires, match officials, both captains, in a transparent way agree, forfeit, I mean, declare both your innings. New Zealand, whatever total it is on the final day, chase 326. Something to give relevance to a World Test Championship final.
Okay, so Rahane, it has to say that it would no longer be a test, it will be a T20 decider. I kind of understand why you're saying that. But if we are after results in this match, then tactically there's many things open on the table, really. There's a lot of things on the table. Let's hope there's a result. I don't care how they do it, but make it a result. Wouldn't it be hilarious in a very frustrating way if it comes down to being equal scores yet again?
Well, if I have to ask with Behram, I mean, deciding the World Cup final on a boundary count is far more ludicrous than trying to go for a win in a test match on the final day.
Absolutely.
True.
Absolutely. That was a horrific
I mean, Steve, Norman, I mean, if Australia were in that position, that too against England, that too at Lords, they would have absolutely raised the roof with that 6-1 thing. What Dharmasena did at that time. I mean, they would have said, no, you have to reverse it. They will put pressure on that. The match would have been halted. There would have been huge amounts of criticism at that time because the Aussies would not have backed down, especially in the clash and against England. Come on. You would give a quarter of an inch to England. Come on. No chance in hell.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if they discuss whether to have something like that in this to decide this, because a draw in this game is going to be really sour taste to both nations and everyone else. So maybe they discuss, should we do a boundary count in this, or should we have a bat off or whatever? I don't know, but I don't know. And would it be nasty?
What's a bat off? Is it like?
Well, I don't know. We'll have to make something up. We can be creative on the show here, but
I think I think the comments are like, I think I'm not so popular with my views. I mean, I'm just saying, like, don't call into the panel. This guy is ludicrous. I think, okay.
Don't be silly. Forget that. Okay. So
they might be talking about me, I think.
No. Archie McGalton, would a fast bowler be nastier to someone if they're not friends? It's an interesting question. I think they wouldn't be, because you're exposed. Really, you're exposed, aren't you? You are exposed if you do that. Look, I'm sure there were even rivalries within the team, let alone against the team. Jeff Thompson always tells me the story about he and Lilly when they were playing state cricket. There'd be a lot of heavy banter going between the two of them, even though they were obviously colleagues playing for Australia. It was intriguing to watch that. Okay.
Yep.
All right, guys. I'm wary that we've got the game starting in about 10 minutes. So I want to spend the next 5 minutes, giving it 5 minutes before for people to go and watch. I want us to just talk about how we see today going and scores and even results if everything goes to the way we hope it to. All right. So start again. You said a total of how much?
Ideally, for a big score to bat big, 350 to 375. That should be the total. It'll give you 2 attempts at New Zealand because looking at the weather on day 4. So today, this partnership should get them to 250 plus and then let Pant explode towards the end.
Okay. So let's assume that India get 3, I'll pick a score, 350. What will happen then? Will New Zealand have time to bat today and what will they do?
350 to 375, New Zealand gets 1.5 hours to bat. 3-4 wickets can happen.
Of course it can. Of course it can. And I actually think it's likely to happen. I'd be surprised if New Zealand can bat as well as India did in the first innings. It's very unlikely to happen. The pressure will be insurmountable upon the New Zealand batters, and the Indian bowlers have nothing to lose. They can absolutely go for it and put enormous pressure with both the likes of Ashwin and Jadeja, in particular, let alone the pace bowlers. The pressure that Ashwin and Jadeja can, put on the New Zealand batters will be enormous with close infield placements.
Because in these conditions, the roles will be changed. Jadeja and Ashwin are not going to be your wicket takers. They're going to be your pressure builders. It is the likes of Bumrah, Ishant, and Shami who will capitalize on that pressure.
That's right. Very much right. Okay. So you're saying, let's say 350 with 3 or 4 wickets down New Zealand. What are you saying, Steve?
Yes.
What were you saying today?
Well, it seems like it's all set up for India to win. They're the favourites with the bookies. They're heavy favourites now, the way it's all set up. But look at the way the ball moved yesterday. So if New Zealand can come out and knock a few guys over early and remove India and then get in there and get some runs, this test match could be turned on its head. So, yes, it looks like India, but it's going to be a very interesting first session if the Kiwis can get some wickets and they can get a few out and get in there and make some runs. Like I said, who knows? So we've seen it happen before. You think it's going to go one way and it goes the other, but it's an exciting prospect and I'm looking forward to watching it.
To stick your neck out. What are you telling me? Give me some facts.
I'm going to go New Zealand. All right, I'm going to go because in the Anzac spirit, I'm an Aussie, but I'm not a New Zealander. I've got a bit of black on here, as you can see. So I'm going to go with the Kiwis, and my man, Richard Pant, fails again, even though I'd like to see him go bang, bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang.
It'll be just bang then. It won't be bang, bang, bang. It'll be bang.
Well, yeah. This Indian batting order that bats down to number 8, the number 8 batsman was an opener, but it's the difficult conditions. The ball's swinging all over the place. The Kiwis will be fired up. They've got 5 gun bowlers will be steaming in, Southie. And, yeah, so I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the Kiwis are going to turn this game on its head today and come out there and put in a big performance.
Well, that sounds exciting either way. Suddenly, Munchie's talking to someone about Chelsea. Munchie, how dare you talk about Chelsea? This is not okay. We can't talk. We've talked about rugby league, rugby, Kabata. I've also spoken about tennis. So Munchie's got a right to talk about soccer, I guess. It's kind of balancing their place a bit.
Yeah, well, we've spoken about this before, Norman. One of the reasons we want to get South Sydney as a brand in India and across the world is because people like the Chicago Bulls and they like the Everton Toffees and they like Liverpool. And so why can't the South Sydney Rabbitohs become one of those iconic brands that is, in the mix of what people talk about? But anyway, we are talking about the game, but I just thought I'd throw that in, that the mighty South Sydney Rabbitohs are up there with a great brand.
So Niraj Ghosh has mentioned Manchester United, but Irami, what on earth? Elephant polo? Are you crazy?
What?
Elephant polo.
You know what elephant polo means to me? A bunch of fat old guys like me playing a game of cricket. More like elephant polo. All right.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right.
Well, it's probably a good sport to play if you.
Who knows? All right.
Probably a lot of fun.
It will be a lot of fun. Siddharth, you're going to have to go and look up Kabaddi now, so become a Kabaddi expert.
Yeah,
I will definitely.
Next time I come on, we'll be all over the Kabaddi.
Okay, good. All right, Siddharth.
Indeed.
I better give you my prediction. I'm expecting Kohli to get 100, and India will get maybe around the 325 mark and have New Zealand 4 or 5 down. I'm not being heavy on New Zealand, but I think the pressure on New Zealand batters to perform, if India get a total of 300 plus, will be ginormous, because the last 3 innings, there's no way either of the teams will get more than 150 in their scores. The wickets will deteriorate that much. So this initial batting performance is going to be the key. So that's my thoughts. All right, guys, Siddharth and Steve Maven, Siddharth Vishwanath, and obviously Steve Maven, you've been fantastic. And I must thank David Gravely, Aparna Saini, and Gautam Bhattarai. They were all fantastic. What a breadth of commentary we had. We've had no less than close to 20,000 viewers, by the way.
Wow.
Just a mere 20,000 viewers. It's a pretty decent. We had 40,000 the other day, but that was for the pre thing, which was very big. In fact, you were on that. So now we had 40,000.
Wow, yeah.
So this is now
That's
20,
awesome.
20 mid-test matches, pretty amazing, I can tell you. And thanks to you guys for creating great interest. Here's Barami Irani. Where is it? Barami Irani says India will decimate New Zealand. Only weather can save them. Ooh, that's heavy words.
Maybe
coming from the man who picked elephant polo. All right.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, guys. I'll thank you both. I'll talk to you very soon. We're on every day. Hang on a minute. There is an after-game session, which is 3 a.m. our time, depending on how things go. I'm on that. Siddharth, see how you go. You going to be up front, or are you going to be on it?
No chance.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for your time. Both of you.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, mate. Thank you, Norman. Appreciate it. Good to meet you, mate. See you later.
Yeah.
Ciao.
See you. Bye.
It was wonderful today. We had the guests of Gautam Bhattarai, we had David Gravely, we had Aparna Saini, we had Siddharth Vishwanathan, we also had Steve Maven. So we had 5 great guests, and of course myself. Munchie, we'll say goodbye to you in a minute. We're not going just yet. This is a very significant day. If we get 3/4 of the day play, we could see Indian batsmen create history, such as Kohli get a century, and we'll see how they go. And that's set New Zealand a very difficult target. Quite a dramatic day. Hopefully we get an element of that going on. So yeah, but thank you. 20,000 subscribers would be very nice. We're getting close, guys. So it's a very good segue for me to say we need to be able to have a situation where I get Harsh on here once. Harsh Bogley, I'll try. So we're going to. I'm not going to target 50,000. I'm not going anywhere. So please, if you haven't done already, view, like, and share the posts. View, like, and share the posts. Ultimately, if you haven't subscribed, go in there now. If you haven't logged in, log into YouTube and actually subscribe. It costs you nothing. And then while you're there subscribing, hit the notification button. So any of these sessions will come in front of you, and we'll be able to then get it. So you then share it through WhatsApp, social media, Facebook Messenger, whatever means, your email. Send out links to this particular YouTube channel and get others to subscribe to help the channel grow, which I would really appreciate for my sake and for your sake. And Munchie's got a comment. Can we get Shapali on to discuss the England-India ladies cricket, please? Sure, I'll get Shapali on, Munchie. This is a request for her to get on. Shapali, you've had her before, she'll be on again. No problems at all. I subbed it in. Great. I appreciate that. Great to set the guests today. Thanks. Thank you very much, guys. So again, view, like, and share, subscribe, hit the notification button, share to your friends through whatever group you've got, and make the channel grow. We had a great set of viewership. We had 20,000. I haven't got 20,000 subscribers. So that means some of the 20,000 haven't subscribed. So if you haven't, please make an effort to do that, okay? All right, guys. What she's saying, okay? Okay. There, I think solid backpacker. Yes, Virat Kohli will score a century today. I've got little doubt. I'm hoping. We're looking at the game starting soon. It should be starting now, guys. So I'm just going to check whether the game's actually starting. I'm pretty sure it is. I'll soon find out for you. Yep, they're out there bowling. All right, guys. Take care. Enjoy the day. If you like and share, subscribe, notifications, and make the channel grow. Good night to you all. See you post-game. There's a post-game session directly after the finish of play. I'll be on again. I've already organised that for the time. Thank you again.